Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Hi. How are you today? There's like 43 people in here and only 7 likes. Can we get some more likes? Can we pump up those numbers? You know what's really interesting? When I first got this computer installed, me speaking at normal volume was like clipping my microphone out, and now it's much quieter for unexplained reasons. Unexplained reasons. So anyway, oh goodness gracious. Veronica, suggests maybe this will be the good news about Trump and Epstein. Listen, I have no comment about Epstein today. We've got nothing about Epstein right now. So, yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. If you hit the like button, it immediately benefits the show. It immediately shows it to more people. And if you're in the YouTube chat and you weren't aware, this over here, this chat is from my website, luxander.net/live. I do not have Twitch. So, I mean, I guess technically I have a Twitch, so. My battery is at 23% and I just got to the plasma place, so I might disappear in a bit. No worries. What's up, Mama? What's up, Viren? Hello to the YouTube chat. 55 viewers, only 10 likes. You're killing me today. You're killing me. Oh, gosh. Come on, y'all. I learned my UC is still in remission, and then I went to Pride a few days later, so the last week has been nice. Hello, yes. Hello. We are here, everyone. How is the Gromp today? The Gromp, I hope that it's doing well. Oh my gosh. Is YouTube just really, really lagging? It's showing me that there's only 10 likes on the video. That's crazy. I'm here to talk about the end of America as we know it because, like my phone battery, it will soon die. Although, unlike my phone, I doubt we can ever recharge it. Listen. So for today's show, first of all, I have a headache. I'm going to get glasses this weekend, finally, which is great because I get a headache. At first I didn't even understand that what I was experiencing was a headache because it just mostly felt like my eyeballs hurt. But now I'm like, no, yeah, this is a headache. So I have a headache, and it's because I can't really see up close very well. But yet I'm still sitting here at my desk trying to read, and I was editing earlier today. So yeah, it's developed into a headache now. America didn't invest in rechargeable batteries, so when it dies, it stays dead. Kill me. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one, I think. We're gonna goof around for a little bit, as we usually do. We're goofing around. And then I do have like 3 segments that I wanted to discuss today. There were 2 that we missed last time. There are a lot of mask mandates that people are trying to introduce. And obviously, I don't like that because I am a COVID conscious person, and I would be super pissed if I was like legally not allowed to go out with a mask on. And then we also have not yet spoken about, apparently there's something of an epidemic of trans youth suicide in the UK following all of the restrictions that they've put in place for trans youth getting access to medical care. So that's one thing that I wanted to discuss today. And then the other thing is kind of a fun thing, I guess. It's funny at the very minimum. Someone posted a link in the Discord, which, thank you. Oh my gosh. 75 viewers. Hit the like button. I will haunt your nightmares. Someone posted a link to a blog post by a woman who was like already gender critical, transphobic, and then she got breast cancer, and somehow this has made her even more transphobic. Like, I don't really understand. Yeah, people are trying to pass bans so that it is not legally allowed to wear a mask. I personally think that that's a very obvious First Amendment violation. You know, like, I have freedom of expression. We've already determined that folks have the freedom to wear whatever clothes they want to. I know, Dendrite, that's what I'm saying. How are we only at 14 likes right now? I'm gonna lose it. How are there 70 people in here? I'm immunocompromised in Kansas and terrified of mask bans. Right. Yeah, I have not seen any I haven't seen any conversation about this in Kansas, but I would definitely lose my fucking mind. Katie says, good news, everyone. I actually cleaned our room and my wonderful wife got all but the currently dirty laundry put away. The never-ending basket of laundry is slain for a few hours at least. Laundry is the bane of my existence. It's crazy. I mean, yeah, I guess we can just jump right into it, right? Excuse me. Seriously, this is insane. I'm used to there's usually more likes than viewers on the video, so it's crazy to me right now that there are like 75 people here and only 15 likes. It's easy. It immediately helps the show, okay? But yeah, so Mama Mephistopheles is talking about, like, is it kind of game over for us as a country? Like, yeah, I guess we can just get into it right at the beginning of the show. So Mama says, it's game over, right? As a country, we're going into fascism on January 20th, and that'll be the end of it. It's over. There's no way for things to get better. That don't rely on federal level Democrats doing anything at all, which they are incapable of doing. I'm of the opinion that it'll probably be a little bit longer. Like, my opinion on the collapse of the US government, or at least the full descent into fascism, has been that it will probably follow the collapse of the economy, which is going to happen in like 2045 based on current projections. But, you know, it could definitely accelerate in some ways because we've got, like, this election. I think if Biden wins, there's probably going to be another version of January 6th, right? If Trump wins, then everything that's currently happening under Biden is going to accelerate. So I don't really know what's going to happen with this election, but I think either way it's going to go bad. Ben says recession here in the US is probably going to hit around 2026 or 27. Have we not been in like a rolling recession type thing? Like, you know, we're in a recession and then it kind of recovers, and then we're in a recession and then it kind of recovers. Like, we've just been like narrowly avoiding a full-on depression for like 10 to 20 years. Do you think a revolution is needed right now? I think that it's kind of inevitable, but the thing is about the revolution concept is that you're either going to have a communist socialist revolution or a fascist revolution. I think a fascist revolution is likely, especially if Biden wins. Like, the Democrats' plan is to keep winning elections forever and never lose at all because reform is too hard. I guess, yeah. Kitty agrees with me that we've been bouncing recessions since 2008. Do you think civil war is likely? I guess it sort of depends, like, on how do we define how do we define civil war? Like, there have already been situations. Do y'all remember? Maybe you don't. There was a situation not too long ago where I think it was someplace in like Utah where there was an armed group of people who took over like oh god, what was it? It was like some government owned building, but not like the courthouse. It was more like a nature building, or like a having something to do with the land conservation or something. And it was over a dispute about changes in where these people were allowed to graze their cattle or something like that. You know, like, and again, like, depending on how you define civil war exactly, you know, looking at the George Floyd protests from a couple years ago, that to me felt like living in an occupied country, because we've got all these police who are starting violence. So they were police riots. That's what the word for that is. Police riots is when when police start violence at a peaceful protest, or like, yeah, police en masse causing violence against citizens. And like the whole concept of, oh yeah, there was an armed militia who took over the border in Texas at one point. Oh, okay. So like we're clearly already a battleground of sorts. Like there's clearly already some kind of like battleground happening. Like the fact that I don't want to go to a protest because I'm concerned that, like, what is happening? Why does my hand smell like metal? I don't know what I've done. Why does my hand smell like metal? That's so weird. Anyway, I know that people say, you know, the fascist contingent is small, but there's also like a really dumb contingent. And maybe that's an unpopular thing to say. It's definitely an ableist thing to say, but there's a lot of really dumb fucking people who aren't convinced that, like, who aren't trying to usurp the government. Although there is like a small contingent of people who are trying to usurp the government, and they are exploiting the dumb people and their fear around immigration and around child transition, like trans kids, and like you're able to exploit a group of dumb people who, I mean, there's folks who do genuinely believe that the Democratic Party are all pedos. Katie Tick said earlier that she was an earlier subscriber on the second channel. I subscribed months ago, and I found out yesterday when I went over to it that I had been somehow unsubscribed. If you watched the whole playlist of videos, or I watched the whole playlist of videos, but everyone should check if they are still subscribed over there. True. Yeah, so on this channel, I talk about politics and the descent into darkness. Yay! But there is also a second channel where I talk about hunting, fishing, farming, gardening, foraging, all that shit. And we just crossed our first 1,000 subscribers, which is so exciting. I'm very happy. I'm psyched. Ben says, y'all please put some of your money in a crypto wallet that you own and is on your computer. I know blah, blah, blah crypto, but seriously, it will protect you a bit if your bank account gets frozen. I feel like I'm more likely to just pull money out of my account and keep it in cash, but I also never have enough money for that. But yeah, I guess that is a concern of like your bank account getting frozen. I wonder who would be targeted by that. That's a curious thing. How many people will risk their lives because they are angry that kids in Washington have access to medicine? I mean, they don't view it as kids having access to medicine. They really genuinely view it as like kids being permanently harmed or kids being groomed or something, you know? Like, that's the problem with all this rhetoric. with cash if the government collapses. That's kind of useless. I mean, with what am I gonna buy with you know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna buy with crypto if the government collapses? Are most people set up to? Am I gonna go down to the Walmart and use crypto? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting concept. It's an interesting conversation. Yes, happy scare the shit out of Pets Eve, everyone. Patient says, if Biden wins and Trump does a January 6th 2 Trader Boogaloo, then that means Biden can finally bring in tanks to protect the Capitol and the presidency. According to SCOTUS, the POTUS has purge rules where crime is legal. Tankies can finally have their day as well. You know, it's great that the Supreme Court has just declared that the president has basically full immunity for any crimes he commits while in office. Because, I mean, I guess that means that Biden can just unilaterally take some actions if there's a January 6th 2 electric boogaloo. Cynthia says, plant as many food-producing plants and trees as possible. Get ready to collect rainwater. This is the track that I'm on, right? And I think this is why, like, I don't think that I'm a threat to the government in any way. And like, I think that there are people out there who are way more pissy about it than I am. I'm like, listen, I have a headache and I want to go to Oregon and buy land and live happily alone with my husband and like just say, fuck it. I don't give a shit what happens to the US government. Y'all can do your own thing. I'll vote, but you won't see me at protests and you won't see me running for office. And like, I just don't care anymore. Okay, now we're at 32 likes. That's closer. We're getting there. We're getting closer. Ox says there's also a chance of corporations getting wealthier than the government, and they won't take kindly to the theocratic angle of Project 2025, as foreshadowed by that squabble between Ron DeSantis and Disney. Maybe. Oregon Trail 2025 edition. True. Yeah, I'm going to be moving this winter. I'm actually starting to get a little bit excited about it because, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a huge step. I basically felt like I can't build a life in Kansas because everything fucking sucks. Although I will agree, I was talking to someone, it was in my D&D group last night, and someone was like, to be fair, Kansas is probably the best state in amongst the Midwest states. And I was like, okay, bet that's true. Yeah, so it's a rough day. Oh my god, my eyeball. I really need to install new gutters on the shop that we have. It's 40 by 80 foot with metal roof and walls. When it rains hard, it would collect 1,000 gallons an hour, I bet. Just got to get enough going for our property so we can actually start creating a stepping stone community to help people reach PNW from bad places. Yeah. It's going to be a few years yet before I'm actually buying any land or buying a house. But, you know, right now, listen, right now I'm just looking at apartments. I'm looking at places that I can move to. Yeah, Lux is going to die of dysentery. We need places like that bad as a group. Yeah, sure. Yeah, like I know the rainbowpassage.org is trying to get people moving over to Pennsylvania. Amy has tried to convince me a couple times that I should move there. And I'm just like, I have no desire to live on the East Coast. Like no part of me wants to live on the East Coast. Not at all. I'm glad that there's a queer center there. That's amazing. But that's just not, it's just not what I'm going for. I've been brushing up on my Spanish, and my spouse and I are getting each other passports for our HRT miss. Sex sells like crazy, and secular people are a marketing demographic like any other. They can get on board with nationalism and autocracy, but forcing everyone to conform to monotheistic dogma, it's more than just bad for business. You know, I kind of have always felt like Trump's version of fascism is a bit secular. Like that he only caters to the religious right insofar as he has to. I'm sorry, I'm going to be rubbing my face a lot today because of aforementioned headache. I'm sorry. Oh my God, almost 100 viewers and only 35 likes. I'm so disappointed. So yeah, I'm just trying to focus on shit that I can actually control. We're like witnessing the fall of an empire, which is insane. Like I don't really expect things to go well. I saw a post earlier today that said Biden was thinking about stepping down, which of course everybody wants to happen, but none of the polls show that Kamala Harris is going to win against Trump. Excuse me. Lex, why you stream with headache? Take care of yourself. Because I have to make money. I'm going to take off stream next week because I have a thing that I'm doing on Wednesday next week. So like, yeah, I need to make money. I need to be consistent on the channel. I need to record segments so that I can upload them to the stream. It's psychic damage, but I'm trying my best. Look at this. I am unstoppable. Listen, if we get to $100 in donations, I'll stop the show. If you want me to take care of myself and not stream with a headache, I'll do it when we reach the fucking stream goal. Mabel says, I'm looking at passports and places I can travel to as a disabled person. That's the tricky thing about being disabled, is that many countries don't want you. Although I believe that Canada has dropped that rule or that requirement, because my friend Anya actually spoke to leadership in the government, and I think that she was part of like getting rid of that rule of they don't take disabled people. Thank you, Kitty. I appreciate that. Kamala does better than Biden in the polls is the point. Democrats need to run a better campaign and then maybe they'd win, but they won't do that. Yeah. I mean, it's tricky. Like, the thing that bothers me so much, the thing that drives me batshit crazy about this election is that I have no fucking idea which way it's going to go. Like, I have no frame of reference for guessing what's going to happen. I mean, like, I can guess, but I wouldn't feel like it was an informed guess. Oh, thank you, Mosh. It's going to take a second to pop up on the screen because it's slow when it comes through YouTube. But thank you for your £5 donation. Mosh says, go take a nap. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is $6.38. I love how YouTube automatically translates it for me so that I know that it's $6.38. I appreciate that. So I have a trust fund, which may help. Yeah. You know, trying to move anywhere is probably better with a trust fund. Misfit Satanas wants to know if they can bounce a theory off chat. Sure, babe. Miss Ellen Weir says, Biden shouldn't have even primaried. He should have just stepped down like what we all assumed he would. I mean, didn't he say back when he was running before, or right after he won before, that he was not planning on running? There it is. Finally showed up. I thought that he just said 4 years ago that he was not planning on running again. So Like, why? Why is the question. Is he relying on the fact that incumbents generally win the election? Trump was the incumbent before and he didn't win. Where's my water? Yeah, like, I think he said that he was only going to do one term. I agree. The Dems need to stop trying to appeal to centrists. Money can definitely grease the wheels of almost anything. Yeah. I'm about to do a GoFundMe starting next month because I need to move across the country and it's going to cost thousands of dollars. And I'm doing my best to save up money, but like there's only so much you can do as like a self-employed person. So Misfits' theory is that Biden will step down, Vice President Kamala Harris takes over, and Trump loses to America's first female African-American president. Maybe. I would not say that. I would not say that that's likely. I think that like the best case scenario and like maybe the most likely thing that's going to happen is that apparently this is a great title for this show. That's great. Apparently, like in my opinion, I think Biden, if best case scenario, Biden wins the election and then immediately steps down and lets Kamala in. But yeah, I don't know how well Kamala polls against Trump specifically. I would, though. I don't want to vote for Biden, but I would vote for Kamala. Like, if he steps down and Kamala takes over, like, especially if they did something cool, like Kamala runs with Bernie, you know, I would vote for her. But I don't, like, I live in Kansas, so to be clear, when I talk about I don't want to vote for Biden, it's because my vote for a Democratic president has never fucking mattered. I live in Kansas. It's heavily gerrymandered. We challenged the gerrymandered districts and the Supreme Court said, nope, they're not gerrymandered. And also fuck you because they only get rewritten every 10 years. So we're like still 7 or 8 years left of being heavily gerrymandered. And, you know, bad things keep happening here, even though we have a Democratic governor. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just not optimistic. Kind of no matter what happens. Zipation says you show up and claim asylum if you fear for your life legally, then you are an asylum person in a first world country. That's the Geneva Convention standard. And one reason why we fell off first world, besides gun violence against the marginalized by officials, I actually am I researched this before, that the whole can you seek asylum in Canada thing. You cannot seek asylum in Canada if there is somewhere in your country that would be safe. So, you know, there are states with like safe state laws, Minnesota, Oregon, Washington, some places in New England. So I don't think that we can actually claim asylum status in Canada unless something very dramatic happened that made it to where like we suddenly don't have safe state laws in those individual places. If Biden immediately steps down, isn't that false advertising? Damn, girl, you would fucking think so. But apparently, in this country, I've seen it happen a couple times now. There was this lady in South Carolina who ran as a Democrat, and then as soon as she was elected, she switched parties to Republican. And started, like, she was the reason why abortion laws, like anti-abortion laws, passed in South Carolina. She is the reason. So no, there is no rule that says you have to do anything that you said you were going to do when you got elected. There's no fucking rules around this. So yeah, Biden could run and then immediately step down. Because nothing fucking matters. As an Oregonian, I see us as the canary in the cave. We are the tell it's bad everywhere. We're like the Iceland of America. How so? Are you saying like, yes, cinema. It was Kristen fucking Cinema. I have nothing good to say about her. I have nothing that's not TOS to say about her right now. Anyway. Mama Mephistopheles says, the pathway to Democrats winning exists. They just won't take it. If they did swap to Kamala, they won't run a campaign well enough to actually win. They just won't do what they need to because they are capable of nothing popular or helpful. I already said this, but I need people to hear me and internalize this. If any step of the process to things getting better includes the phrase Democrats could or Biden could, it will not happen. They will not choose to do the right thing ever. Federal Democrats, I can agree with you. I can agree with you that federal Democrats would not, they're not going to be instruments of change here. But local Democrats can still do good things. Like, that's why I do think it is still really important to vote. Even if you can't bring yourself to vote for Biden, there are possibly dozens of Democrats on the ticket where you are going to vote. Where you are going to vote. That it's worth it for you to still turn up or vote by mail or whatever you need to do to make it happen. The Dems act like they have to make it a close race. God, that's true. Zypation is saying that she sees Oregon's laws as a canary in the cave. The liberal laws. We won't even tax the poor with sales tax, even though we like other taxes. Is there no sales tax in Oregon? Is my life about to improve dramatically, even though my income is going to stay the same and the cost of living is going to be much higher? Kitty says, Project 2025 will make things super more likely to allow asylum status. Like if the Fed cuts off state funding for providing help to trans people, then the state will be forced to cave eventually. We are all tied to the Fed in the end. Right. Okay, there's no sales tax? Holy shit. There's no sales tax in Oregon? Oh, that's cool. That's convenient. Income tax is pretty high, though. Yeah, that's the thing that sucks, is like I'm self-employed and it's the federal taxes really that fuck me. It's so shit. Like, I don't make that much money, okay? I make about as much money as you would make full-time working at a gas station for like less than $10 an hour, okay? And I end up owing like let's say, okay, 2 years ago, I made like maybe $16,000 and I paid like $2,000 in tax. It's fucked up. Whereas like if I wasn't self-employed and I only made $16,000, I would owe nothing in taxes. In fact, I would probably get $2,000 back in taxes. It was insane. Mira says, Florida also has no sales tax. The money comes from other things like the lottery, i.e. taking advantage of the poor who hope to win big. Yeah. Do you have a job aside from YouTube/streaming? No. I have thought about it though. Like, I have considered getting a job where I work like 2 shifts a week and just paying 100% of my wages in tax. But yeah, LLC might help you with taxes. I don't think it does. I think people assume that, and then I've looked into it, and it doesn't. Like, I actually am pretty sure that there's no reason for me to do the LLC. How do you live? I have a partner who does have a good job. And I make decent enough money. Like, I make enough money that I was able to live alone in Kansas with food stamps. So, you know. Did I miss talk about Neil Gaiman? I did not have any intention of talking about Neil Gaiman today. Katie Tech says in Oregon, there's no sales tax or state property tax, only county property tax and income tax. We have a single tax system. As a state, we pay for most things by rotating logging on our BLM land. This is why wildfires have been so hard on us and the drought is hurting the lumber industry. Yeah, my partner is going to be able to get a job very easily when we move. It will not be difficult. So, but I understand that not everybody has that. Like, if my partner worked at a gas station, we would be struggling. But, you know, it's not that way. My partner is a tradesman, so... It likely doesn't feel so great in the moment, but the fact that you got yourself off the ground enough to make revenue online is one hell of a milestone. Listen, I'm so proud of myself and so grateful. Between like Patreon and Fansly, and I'm about to start getting paid for my appearances on the Transatlantic Collins show, and I sell merchandise now. Like, between all those different things, I'm making enough money that I'm going to be able to afford to replace all 4 of my tires, which is going to fucking suck and be a lot of money all at once. But then, like, okay, at least I can get those things when I need them. What fresh new horrors has today brought? Anna Malice, do you even want to know? Do you even want to know? If you're just coming in and you have not hit the like button, please consider it. It immediately helps the show, and I appreciate it so much. It's quick, it's easy, it's free for you. If you can afford it, pitch me $5. I would appreciate that too. I'm going to have to run a GoFundMe in order to be able to afford the thousands of dollars that it's going to require for me to move 2,000 miles across the country. Agree, there should not be billionaires. I think that we should tax billionaires so much that they don't even, like, that they can't, that they're basically like, you are not allowed to have any money above, like, $999 million is still too much money. Did your second channel contribute a lot since it's not political content? I am not able to monetize that channel yet. Cynthia, thank you so much. It's going to take a second for that to pop up on the screen because it's just really slow when we do YouTube donations. Yeah, it shows up on the screen really slow, and then also YouTube takes 30% of your money. Direct donations through the website are a little bit easier, but like, they just don't take a bunch of fees off. But thank you still so very much. I appreciate that. So my second channel is not monetized because you need to have over 1,000 subscribers, which we just got yesterday. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And also, you have to have over 4,000 hours of watch time within the past year or something like that. So I'm going to have to post more content over there, and people are going to have to actually watch it. So right now, ads do play on the content, but I have no control over it. Like, YouTube can just put ads wherever they want, and they make money off of it, but I don't. So, you know, it's a little frustrating. but I am going to be posting over there more. Ooh, actually, I would love to share something with you all right now. Hold on, let me get my chat back. The chat went away. In Oregon, we only started pumping our own gas recently, and most places still have an attendant to pump gas. So if you worked at a gas station, pretty lucrative here. Do you make tips? I could do that. I've worked at so many gas stations. I cannot even tell you how many gas stations I've worked at. But yeah, do you make tips pumping gas? That would be the easiest fucking job in the world to make tips on. So buying a domain IP is a better place to start. I have a domain. I have my domain. Is there anyone left not using ad block? I pay for YouTube Premium, guys. I know that it's not the popular opinion. But I mean, it's one of the main ways that we make money. You know, it's a couple $100 a month for me every month that comes through YouTube ads. I do still get paid if you have YouTube Premium, but it's like, you know, either premium or ads. I'm sorry, that's how it works. Oh, we're so close to 69 likes. I love it when we hit 69 likes. If you can personally bankroll a political campaign in modern America, you probably have too much money. Wow. If you want to try adverse possession, my father-in-law's house has been abandoned. Turns out it's a real thing. You just need before and after pics and receipts to tell a judge, this is mine now. We are a homestead state and we don't like things dilapidating. I will keep that in mind. Okay, let me show you something fun. So I'm so glad to talk to you about all this dumb shit that's going on. I'm so glad to talk to you about the collapse of the empire, right? I love doing that. It definitely makes my headache better. But just as a fun little aside, I enjoy hunting now, or at least I will enjoy hunting. This was one of the main things I was waiting for, and it finally just came in the mail. I have a hunting vest now. So I have the colors that I need to safely hunt. It's orange. And it has many pockets. It's huge because it's made for like someone who's bigger than me. But it has so many pockets. It has big giant pockets for me to put like, oh hey, I can put the animal in the pocket. If I'm doing like hunting small animals, I can put them in the pocket. And there's a big pocket on the back. So, anyway. You got a piece to go with that, or are we cosplaying? Oh, do you see the bow back there? I am gonna be bow hunting. You can also wear that to a nightclub in Berlin. Yeah, so that finally came in the mail today. Yes, and it will fit over a winter coat. Yes, that's the great thing about it. That's the convenient thing about it. So, yeah, these are the things that I'm like, listen, I'm spending my time thinking about other stuff. Like when I'm working right now, we're doing the show. I'll talk to you about the collapse of an empire, okay? But outside of this show, I'm watching like House of the Dragon, and I'm thinking about going hunting or going fishing with my partner, and I'm like planning this move, you know. You can hunt rabbit with a 20-pound bow. I have a 20-pound bow, and that's what I'm going to be hunting rabbits with. There's also a fishing pole. Fish. So anyway, you are cool. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with this election. the Supreme Court has been doing all kinds of fucked up shit lately. Like, we haven't even talked on this channel about the fact that the Supreme Court just made it legal to criminalize homelessness. And I feel like that's a conversation that we should have. Like, I just don't even know what else there is to say. It just is the worst development. I mean, it's not the worst development. There's definitely more difficult things going on, or like worse things, but like the structure of what crime is, the social construct of crime being that, you know, you can deny someone housing and that's not illegal. Like, you can jack up the prices beyond what anybody could afford working 2 jobs, 60 hours a week on minimum wage in a given area. You know, like the fact that you have to earn, I don't think there's anywhere in the country where you can earn less than $50,000 and be able to really comfortably, genuinely afford a place to live and not be concerned about imminently being kicked out, or like missing one paycheck and having that put you out on the street effectively. You know, like the idea that it's okay to criminalize, yeah, just being alive and not having a place to sleep. But yeah, it's not illegal to price gouge. It's not illegal to let people die on the sidewalk from exposure. It's like, I want to talk about it, but I don't know what to say. Aside from, that is like the dumbest thing that has, like, one of the dumbest developments in this country. And one of the most horrendous things, one of the most horrendous things I can imagine is, you know, saying, we're going to continue kicking these people out. We're going to evict these people. We're going to, you know, tear up their tents and throw away their medications that they're keeping in their tent and basically hunt them down as they move from one place to another. And all of that is legal. Like, the social murder of it all is legal. And then we're going to villainize them and treat them like, oh, these people are just unstable. These people are all drug users. You know, most people in this country have more in common, or are closer to homelessness, like more in common with a homeless person and more likely to end up homeless than they are like close to a millionaire or likely to become a millionaire. But so many people think of themselves just like, what was the phrase? Temporarily disadvantaged millionaires. Like, they're just temporarily not a millionaire. You know, I wish that we had more power to do something. It's illegal in some places to even just feed homeless people. Like, you can't set up a table and give out food to people who need it unless you're officially affiliated with the nonprofit or something, you know? That, like, even community support has been made illegal. Yeah, temporarily embarrassed millionaires. The Supreme Court decisions that have been coming out recently are insane. And there's no, like, there's nothing we can do, apparently. At least nothing that we can openly discuss, because if you want to take firm action against the government, it is terrorism, effectively. That the government absorbs all the violence into it and can use violence on us unimpeded, without question, like without consequence. These cops all have qualified immunity and they can just do whatever they want. And then the Supreme Court rules that the president, while he's taking any action in his official capacity, is immune from prosecution, right? You know, that's the standard. The people in power are so, like, unaffected by the rule of law. And, like, I've heard so many people say it before. Oh, Congress, if they're setting the minimum wage, maybe they should live off of the minimum wage. But that's never how it's worked. It's always that they can basically write laws that don't apply to them, which they're not supposed to do, but that's effectively what ends up happening. My landlord would not accept $500 for rent from Providence Foundation. Yeah, like the fact that there are places where it's legal for a landlord to not accept Section 8 housing vouchers, or that maybe it's not legal for them to do it, but how are you going to prove that they discriminated against you because you do Section 8? How are you going to afford to sue them? Because again, it's not a criminal offense in the same way. If you steal from your job, like food, if you work at a fast food place and there's food that's meant to be thrown away at the end of the night, you write it off, and instead of it going into the trash, you put it in your mouth and eat it, that's stealing. And you will potentially go to jail over it, depending on how shitty your boss is, like depending on how shitty the company you work for is. But if your boss goes and alters your time stamps, like your clock in and clock out times, and denies you your overtime and messes with your hours and functionally steals money from you, that's a civil case. You have to sue them. Your boss doesn't get arrested. Nobody who works for the company gets arrested. And it's the same kind of thing, yeah, with this like landlord situation. The idea that you can deny someone housing or kick them out for no reason or refuse to accept payment because it's coming from, I'm assuming Providence Foundation is like an organization that helps people maintain their housing. There is no justice. Like, there is no such thing as justice if we permit all of these functionally violent acts. Letting people starve is violent. Letting people die on the sidewalk is violent. And yet, the state can portray itself as benevolent and, we're building a new homeless shelter further away from where all the homeless people actually are. And then like 2 years after they build the new homeless shelter, they defund it. And then you start criminalizing public spaces and saying you're not allowed to sleep outside and making anti-homeless architecture. This is part of why I'm so checked out, you guys. Like, this is part of why I can't. Like, what do you do? Genuinely, like, the options are become a terrorist or leave. At least that's how it feels to me. Because, and like, I don't want to become a terrorist, like, just to be clear. If protecting communities is considered terrorism, in the sense that, like, you remember the Black Bloc and how there would be like people wearing, sort of military gear or like riot gear at protests to protect protesters. Or when there were Black Bloc people showing up to protect drag queen story hours, those people are labeled terrorists. Defending the people is terrorism. But meanwhile, Proud Boys are able to meet and storm libraries and menace and scare people, and there's like bomb threats being called into Mercy Children's Mercy Hospital, and those actions are not being treated like terrorism. Yeah, there's a social rot. There's a social rot at play. And more and more and more things are being labeled illegal. So this is what be gay, do crimes means. It doesn't mean like, if you're gay, then you should go out and steal. Like, be gay, do crimes means when your existence as a gay person is made illegal, then you should continue to exist even though it is illegal. Like, that's what it means, right? Because that was the whole thing about Stonewall. And even in the UK, I can't remember the name of it. Maybe one of you knows. There's like a particular language that was being used by gay men in like the UK when it was illegal to be publicly gay in the UK. Like, you know, people have to exist. If it's illegal for a homeless person to exist in public, their only other option is to die, because it's hard to get a job if you don't have an address. We don't have public services that are trying to employ these people, trying to make sure they have access to a shower and nice clothes. So that patois, is that what it is? Like trying to make sure that they have access to nice clothes so that they can go to a job interview. Like, what are people supposed to do? Polari. Yeah, it's Polari. Thank you so much. The language that gay men would use, called Polari. Yeah. So you are, our lives are being made smaller. Like, our lives are being made impossible to live. That's like what happens. At a certain point, you know, are you willing to get arrested setting up a table to feed all the homeless people who are now nowhere near the shelter because they moved the shelter further away from where the homeless people actually are? You know, are you going to start rounding up people? Like, are the cops going to start rounding up people who are begging? Are the cops going to start rounding up people who are busking? There's no limit to what they can do. Like, there's no limit to what they can make illegal. They can make anything illegal through gerrymandering and through the courts. And the courts are getting more and more discretion. Yeah, what happens when the lower class is functionally turned into the homeless class? Like, at a certain point, just going about your daily life is going to involve committing crimes, just because, like, if you kiss your husband in public, if you hold your husband's hand in public, if you cross-dress, quote unquote, in public, because let's not forget that they have tried to criminalize public drag, as they define it, like trans people wearing the clothes of the gender that they want to in public. They're trying to criminalize that. At a certain point, what do you do? You're being forced into a situation where you don't have an option but to resist functionally. That's the whole thing, like the whole Star Wars thing. They call it the Resistance. You know, they call themselves the Resistance. The Empire calls them the Rebellion. Wouldn't it be great if we had more media literacy in this country and we could recognize, yeah, the government is going to call it a rebellion, but we have to maintain that we are resisting. It's a resistance. We're resisting oppression. We're resisting criminalization of homelessness. Like, the idea that people choose homelessness is part of the thing that just, it rocks my shit. Like, it makes sense to criminalize things that people choose to do. Like, if you choose to drive without a driver's license, okay, I could see making that illegal because you chose to do something, like you're operating a motor vehicle without necessarily having the appropriate training to do so. That makes sense. Or you're dispensing medication to someone and you don't have a pharmacology license, or you're trying to practice medicine and you don't have a doctor's license, whatever the hell they're called, medical license. You know, there are certain areas where that makes sense, but nobody chooses to be homeless. I mean, maybe there are some few far in between who maybe choose to be nomadic and live out of their van, right? And there are places where you will get hassled by the police if you are sleeping in your car. but you price people out. You know, the minimum wage stays the same, and housing gets more and more unfair, and you're barely able to afford your car insurance, but at least you can afford your car insurance, so at least you have a place to sleep. But no, you don't have a place to sleep because the cops will hassle you for it. Or it's at least fair to say you don't have a safe place to sleep because someone could break into your car. Yeah. At a certain point, there is nothing that you're going to be able to do that is legal. It's very unfair in relationships as well because a breakup could end up in homelessness. Right, yeah, like, we've talked about it before on the show. Like, people stay in bad relationships because they can't afford to leave. Like, if I were living in a place with a higher cost of living, which the cost of living is increasing everywhere, I would maybe not be able to afford leaving. Especially if I lived in somewhere like Oregon, like, I would not be able to afford my own place. I would have to get an additional job beyond this, which is already like my main full-time gig. Yeah, how many TikToks? My ex made me a convict by dumping me. Oh my God. After spending as many years homeless as housed from age 21 to 30, I can say it is wild how many ways you can suddenly become homeless again. Also, how awful the places you will be willing to live are when you're super out of luck. And how much worse it has gotten over the last 10 years. It used to be sort of doable to be homeless, but there are a lot of laws now that make it almost impossible to live these days compared to before. Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe previously you would have been able to sleep in your car, but now you can't. And maybe previously you'd be able to pitch a tent somewhere, but now you can't. And now there's like really limited places where you're allowed to pitch a tent. Or like, if you want to pitch a tent at a place that's a formal camping ground, well, do you have the money to afford it? Because you have to pay an overnight fee to stay there. So yeah, I don't know, man. Animalis says, unpopular opinion, we've already lost. It's going to get worse before it gets better, and I think we need to start treating the situation as an emergency that is happening currently rather than waiting for it. I think I agree. And like, I think Mama is saying the same thing in the website chat, that like, things are already beyond a certain point of no return. And of course there's the conversation where slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. If you go read the amendment that made slavery illegal, it literally says slavery is illegal except as punishment for a crime. So then, yeah, if you criminalize homeless people, then you can bring them in and force them to do slave labor in your prison system. So, yeah, it really feels like things are not going to get better on their own. And my tack on this, my way of coping with this is I'm leaving this red state. I'm going somewhere safer. I'm going to start preparing myself for the climate change, for the food shortages, for the water shortages, because I just can't, like, there's nothing I can do functionally. I guess I could join a militia, but, you know, that's not an appealing thing to me. I don't want to have to be armed in order to be safe just going around because the police are ready to, like, brutalize me at any moment. But increasingly, that's the reality for so many Americans. I mean, that's been the reality for, like, Black Americans for the longest time, is that they just have to deal with a constant threat of being brutalized or killed in broad daylight, whether it's by cops or by white wannabe vigilantes. That, like, this is a war zone. We were born into a war zone. We were born into it. And it, as most war zones, it's not going to end peacefully. It's not going to end by voting. It's not going to end by protesting. I think best case scenario at this point, we are on track for economic collapse in 2040 to 2050, and it'll happen naturally and quietly, and like things will spiral out on their own. I feel like that's the best case scenario, which I guess is like really cynical, but that's what I'm preparing. That's what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for like the economy is going to collapse, and summers are going to get hotter, and winters are going to get more severe, and spring and autumn are going to get shorter every year, and cattle are going to die every summer, and chickens are going to die en masse from bird flu and fires and all kinds of crazy shit, you know? So, that's what my second channel is about. Link in the description. If you're interested in like hunting, fishing, foraging, gardening, survival stuff, that's the only thing I feel that I can do. Like the only thing that I feel that I can do is protect myself and build a community of people who are interested in protecting each other. 2040, that's very generous. Well, so if you're ever curious when I'm talking about the collapse of the economy, my data is based off of the Limits to Growth report, which was commissioned originally in 1972. They made multiple different predictive economic models, and the worst case scenario model, which was the one where we continue to focus only on economic growth and we don't make changes to emissions and all that. Like the research has been revisited a couple times, as recently as 2020 or 2021, I can't remember which. As recently as a couple years ago, we are on track for the worst case scenario prediction, and that prediction, if we stay on that track, shows that the economy will stop growing in 2040, will collapse shortly after, and if we don't make radical changes with regards to emissions, we're looking at like the death of 5 to 6 billion people before the year 2100. So, you know, I recommend reading into it if you're curious. It's the Limits to Growth report from MIT 1972. You can read about it if you like. But, you know, I think that's what we're on track for. Like, I just don't see... We would have to radically change things in order to get off of that track. And we're not going to. Even if Biden stays in office, like even if we vote for him and he stays in office, we are not going to reverse course fast enough to avoid the death of millions, if not billions of people. Okay, I do want that to be a segment on the channel. I like, at some point I switched gears and I was like, I'm gonna do the talking about homelessness thing. So I'm gonna put that in my notes now so that I can remember to pile that on later. Okay, I did not end up talking about mask bans last week. Oh my gosh, it's July 3rd. Oh, okay. Doesn't this conversation just put you in the mood for celebrating the country on 4th of July? Oh my god, I'm gonna come back here for a minute because my back hurts. I started stream with a headache and now my back hurts. There we are. Wow, there are so many viewers here and so many likes. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. Yeah, food is more important than money. Hardcore, Cynthia, hardcore. Don't the vampires understand this hurts them too? Do they want to rule over an empty desert? Yeah, they would rule over a country of ashes, I think. What about extraterrestrial events? Wait, what? What? Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, Sam, that Hunger Games isn't far off from what they want. Zypatian says 11th hour stages of genocide. The next country over is usually almost as bad and gives you 1 or 2 more years. Hopefully this country is big enough where states count as countries. Yeah, that's been my opinion the whole time is, you know, concentrating our power in states where we have protections already. You know, I originally wanted to move to Washington State because, hey, Leftist Owl, how you doing? I originally wanted to move to Washington State, but I actually think that too many people are going to move there, and I don't think there's quite as much land to have, like, space to do the kind of food production that I want to be able to do. Like, honestly, if I had 20 acres of land, that's like the minimum that I would find acceptable. Not because I plan on cultivating all of that, but because I want to be surrounded by some amount of, like, wilderness that, like, I could hunt rabbits on my own land or something along those lines. So I want to move to, like, Oregon, but it's close enough. I live in Washington State. It's hella red outside of Seattle. See, that's partially why, is that, like, people are going to be moving to Seattle, and there's going to be so many people there that there won't be any space. And then as soon as you get to the east part of the state, it's like redneck territory. So, but I feel like in Oregon, it's like even the conservatives there are a little bit less crazy. Hella red in Oregon outside of PDX2. I mean, there's Proud Boys in Portland. People get hate crimed in Portland. It's not, like, safer. Oh, yeah. Igor, let me explain. You asked earlier what gerrymandering is. If you're still here, let me explain it. Gerrymandering, it's named after a dude. Like, it's named after a person. Who his name is Jerry. The idea is that we have, like, certain districts, voting districts, right? So if you, yeah, even Oregon's red are pot-smoking libertarians half the time. Yeah. I feel much better moving to a rural area in a blue state as far as my vote is concerned. Like, I think that that's probably the best thing to do. Deadass, there's nowhere to go in Seattle unless you're financially well off. Yeah, we have no desire to live in a big city like that. But okay, so gerrymandering. So let's say you have like a state like Kansas, and there's a lot of rural areas. There's a lot of places away from the city, and then you have a couple of cities. And as often happens, people in the cities tend to be more liberal or more democratic. They tend to vote more progressive. So gerrymandering would be if you do something like, when we're drawing the districts, like we're creating the districts, if you take that city and you take, like, okay, let's make it bigger. If you take that city, the blue city, the progressive city, and you draw a district that's shaped like this, and it takes some of that blue and includes it with a bunch of red, so that, and red meaning like rural or conservative in this case, you take that city and you carve it up and give it, like, okay, so that's one district, and then there's another district up here that takes some of the blue and includes it in a bunch of rural area, so that none of the districts actually go blue. Or maybe there's one district right in the very middle of the city that actually goes progressive, right? And then the way that things go in America is we go by district. So how many districts go blue versus red, and then that's what the whole vote goes to through the whole state. So Kansas consistently ends up voting for the Republican president. But it's not like because there aren't any liberals here. It's not because there aren't any progressives here. It's because that one city, which you could, if you were doing it in a way that made sense, you could have like 2 or even 3 blue districts there. But they're like this. They're sectioned off into all these rural areas. So you end up with like 4 red districts and 1 blue district. And then if you do that across the entire country, then you end up with a bunch of like red states, quote unquote red states, even though if they weren't gerrymandered, like the reason why it's called gerrymandered is that the guy's name was Jerry and the district in question was genuinely shaped like a salamander. So that's why we have gerrymandering. And we've seen there are instances where sometimes one individual house, like the district gets drawn in such a way that it includes this one individual house. It's one of the sleaziest things in this country. And it's really frustrating because, yeah, in Kansas, twice in my lifetime, we've had a Democratic governor. We had Kathleen Sebelius when I was a kid in high school. And then we had Sam Brownback, who was super, super Republican for a few years. And now we have a Democrat governor again. But every vote, functionally, that goes by district ends up going Republican because there's just like not enough blue districts, basically. Sorry, Mama. May, shut the fuck up. I am so tired of being like, oh, not enough people vote blue. Guess what? Hillary Clinton won the fucking popular vote. What do you mean vote more? We fucking know to vote. We know. It's the bare minimum that we can do. We all fucking know. We are all hostage to the Democratic Party. We know. We have a crunchy granola to fash pipeline here in Oregon, as visible by Awaken with JP hater who moved from Spokane to Austin. That kind of a Republican. They hold their nose while still voting for Trump. Yeah. I did not watch the Biden debate. What the fuck do you mean not enough people vote? Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. The problem is not that there are not enough left-leaning people voting. The problem is extreme gerrymandering across the country. The problem is the Electoral College. We vote. We do vote. Like, I don't know what you want. Trump didn't win because we didn't vote enough. Even under the scenarios where Biden is projected to lose, almost everyone still says he'll win the popular vote. Yeah, it's like that's not the problem. The problem is not that people are not voting enough. You know that 90% of black women vote for the Democratic candidate? I have something in my mouth. Ah, it's a piece of granola or peanut from earlier when I ate a granola bar. 19% of Americans in 2016 voted for Trump. I'm not checking that statistic. I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you not to lie to me. Is that Neef? I don't know how to pronounce that name. Nimh. It's Celtic or something, right? How do you pronounce that? But yeah, they said there's no one I can vote for who represents my views at all. That's the craziest thing. And personally, I think that the thing that we're dealing with now, where the Democrats are going further and further to the center right, part of the problem is that like we aren't demanding, like, because we can't. We should be able to not vote for the Democrats if they aren't doing what we want them to do. But because it's a V. Neve. Okay. I was like, it's like an F or a V. Cool. Neve. But yeah, like, we have ended up in this situation because of the whole concept of like, well, if you don't vote for the Democrat, then it's gonna be a Republican. And like, okay, all we're doing is rewarding this party who won't do what they actually say that they're going to do. That's the frustrating thing. They keep saying, oh, we're gonna codify Roe into law. You know, ooh, as soon as we get the presidency and the House and the Senate at the same time, we're gonna do it, I promise. And then they just don't. The problem isn't that not enough people vote, it's the distribution of the vote. Also, not enough Americans in general vote, but whatever. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if they made it easier to vote, but it is difficult. Like, poor people, they close polling places in areas where poor people live, and then those poor people can't afford to take the time off work to drive all the way across town, or maybe they don't even have a car to drive all the way across town. You're limiting mail-in voting. You're limiting early voting. There are so many things other than voter ID laws that prevent people from getting out there and voting. Mama says, you know what the average federal Democrat thinks about the ruling on Monday? We can campaign on this. Fucking true. Yeah, there's no real liberal or left in America. Not represented in the government anyway. Yeah, I'm so sick of centrist assholes pandering to the right. They don't gain any votes for it ultimately. They just move the Overton window further to the right. Macron did it. Starmer is doing it. Even Biden's getting in on it. Yeah. Biden, like, retracting support for trans kids getting access to surgery. I think they even made a clarifying comment where they said, oh, trans kids deserve access to care, namely therapy. Like, you're not even going to say they deserve access to hormones and puberty blockers, which is the thing that you're allegedly suing these various states over. Like, that's what this Tennessee case is. Excuse me. Excuse me. I can't afford health-wise to go in person to vote, and I will get sick if they don't allow mail-in. Yeah. True, yeah, we're voting for a cause that the Democrats are only really using as a talking point. But they don't actually intend to follow through on half the shit they say. Yes, it's giving conversion therapy. Yes, you're correct. Oh my god, you guys. I like your fan. Thank you, I got it at Pride this year. I am unstoppable. It's just a little bit warm. My ring light died, so I'm working with this giant photography light again, and it's just it's warm. It's warm in my office. it's toasty. And I'm wearing a hoodie, which I refuse to take off. It's my hoodie merch. It's my merch hoodie. I'm just gonna stay in here for a while. Maybe that would help with the headache if I just stayed in here for a while. Anyway, sorry, I'm just being silly. I'm just being a silly bean at this point. 131 people in here listening to me bitch about Biden. Thanks for that. I appreciate you. Hit the like button. Give me $5, please. Oh. I wasn't able to go to Pride this year because I live in Arkansas and don't have any supportive allies. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that there's still gonna be gay and trans people born in these states, and I feel like I have no choice but to abandon them, and that feels terrible. Embrace the darkness, Lux. True. You know, the other night, I had a headache, and I have this. Honestly, I think that my dad gave this to me. It's a 50 Shades of Grey eye cover thing. I was wearing this the other day because my eyes hurt. And I was like, how can I make myself relax my eyes? And the answer is, you do this. Yeah. Darkness imprisoning me. All that I see. Absolute horror. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, I remember that CGP Grey video where he explained the whole the problem with first past the post voting versus like a ranked choice voting system. I like the idea of the ranked choice vote. I'd like to see how that, like, can we get that going on like the state level? Ranked choice. The idea with ranked choice is that, like, let's say there's 5 candidates. You can say, this one's my number 1 choice, this one's my number 2 choice, this one's my number 3. And if your number 1 doesn't win, then your vote goes to the number 2 choice. And if that person doesn't win, then your vote goes to the number 3 choice until that person, like whoever it is, ends up having like enough votes to win. Yeah, it's a great CGP Grey video. Oh yeah, school board elections are important too, truly. School boards being taken over by Moms for Liberty and other groups. Remember when we stole the rainbow from God? That was a great day. Truly. Yeah, I think first past the post is probably one of the things that sucks the most about this country. That's why we are locked in to the 2-party system at this point. I believe there's at least one state that uses ranked choice. I'm not aware of any states that use ranked choice, but I do think that isn't it Michigan that got rid of the electoral college, or the electoral college votes go to the candidate that has the popular vote rather than district by district? Oklahoma just mandated the Bible be taught in public schools. Cute. Cute. Neve says, ranked choice is definitely an improvement over first past the post, but the voting system isn't the main problem here. The main problem is that the billionaires effectively bought the government. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you. Okay, I was correct. Popular vote in Michigan instead of district by district when it comes to the electoral college vote. Oh gosh. Okay. So let's see. What else did we want to talk about today? Wow, there's 159 likes. That's pretty great. Alaska and Maine have ranked choice voting. Good for them. We need it countrywide. We need at least half the states to have ranked choice voting for it to start to make a difference, I think. As far as the presidential vote goes, you know. Yes, hooray for Michigan. Oh my god, why am I so tired? true. That's what I think. Tactical gaming fool. That's how I feel about anarchism. Like, you don't have to know what the new way will exactly look like in order to acknowledge that the current way is wrong, bad, and unsustainable. Like, if I see a helicopter that's crashed into a tree, I don't have to know how to drive a helicopter in order to know that something fucking happened that was wrong. You still doing your hunting thing? Yeah, so I actually just got my my hunting vest in the mail today, which I think means that I am ready to go do the thing. I have my hunting license, I have my bow, I have the arrow tips, and I put together a little first aid kit so that if anything happens, I have access to that. I think the only thing I need is like maybe I might get a field cutting board for field dressing the rabbits. That is one thing that I might do. Because it, I get, you could dress the bunny like in the grass, but it would be a little bit better to have like a sturdy platform upon which to do it. I feel like we would be more impactful in focusing on our communities and making relationships with our fellows to help each other. Also, get a firearm if you are able. I don't disagree with that, necessarily. I know, bunny killer. I know. Listen. Yeah, let's see you fly a helicopter then. Sassafras. So the main topics that I wanted to talk about today, and I'm not sure how y'all feel about it at this point. Stop talking in my fucking stream recommendations channel, guys. It's supposed to be where you put links. I shouldn't have to scroll through a bunch of commentary in order to find the links. Anyway, so the things that I wanted to talk about today were mask bans, scandal in the UK regarding trans youth suicides, although maybe we might just focus on the last issue, which was there was a blog post from a TERF, and it was about how her breast cancer somehow made her even more of a TERF. Really weird. It's like, we've already had serious topic time for the first hour and a half of the show, so I don't know. Thoughts, anybody? Don't call it a bunny when you're talking about hunting. I get those bunnies. Yeah, mask bans being proposed. I think one passed. I can't remember which one it was. Most of us, our thoughts. You don't hunt bunnies, you hunt wabbits. Listen. Apparently, yeah, breast cancer made this person even more of a TERF. My journey with breast cancer. Breast cancer as a lens for embodiment versus dissociation, or sex-based medicine versus gender-affirming care. Scare quotes. This article just came out. Thoughts you called? Listen, that hoe over there. Too many of you. Is field dressing for smaller game the recommended way? With bigger game, a lot of the time you have to do it because it's heavy. Yeah, so rabbit meat spoils pretty quickly, or it starts to taste funky pretty quickly if you don't get the guts out of there. So I guess I could hypothetically just do the guts part out in the field and then finish it at home. What the fuck is sex-based medicine? In this instance, she's talking about, like, well, I mean, it's interesting that she says sex-based medicine in this case because men can also get breast cancer. Like, cisgender men can also get breast cancer. I don't really understand. The only thing that is sex-based about breast cancer treatment is the part where they give you a new boob afterwards. I am a thought with many thoughts. Best of both worlds. Worst of both worlds. No, just kidding. TERFs will post hoc try and relate their life experience to their TERFery, but at the end of the day, they had a knee-jerk disgust reaction to a trans person and are working overtime to justify it. True. The ad hoc nature of it all. I could hide my microphone this way. I mean, I guess there's all, like, don't look at it. There's all, no, don't look at it. Don't look at the arm. Just don't. Wild that we had my stroke made me a Zionist and breast cancer made me a transphobe within the same 12. I missed my stroke made me a Zionist. I missed that one. Oh my God. My tattoo is in the itching stage. Christ. Okay. I'm okay. I just got my tattoo finished like last week and it fucking itches. They're going to start calling male breast cancer peck cancer if this keeps up. Yeah, I don't have breast cancer, bro, okay? I have peck cancer, all right? It's my pecs. I don't have breasts. Yeah, I can see it. I can imagine it. I can imagine that, dude, bro. TERF who knows elementary school biology. Challenge impossible. Well, we're here. Let's move into it. Y'all seem interested. Let's talk about it. This is an article from a woman called Amy Souza, who, God bless her, has recently been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, which is awful. And obviously, I would not wish that on anybody. That's, you know, it's terrible. My sympathy starts to wane when I see that this woman is a TERF, or gender critical, whatever she chooses to call herself, I guess. You know, respect the identity or whatever. She's a cis woman and she got breast cancer, and apparently this experience has made her like double, triple down on the whole TERF of it all. So let's read her article, or we'll at least skim. Maybe we won't. I don't know. How long is the whole thing? Let's see. Scroll. Okay, yeah, no, scroll. Yep, no, it's pretty long. Okay, well, we'll see what we can do. We'll see how far we can make it into this before we start laughing. So this is her. She is, you know, she's received chemo, which obviously that's a huge deal. Having like this treatment done, losing your hair, everything, it's a big deal. She starts. Recently, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. This diagnosis has been emotionally overwhelming, and the treatment plan has been physically grueling. Those of you who have followed me on my various social media know that my accounts focus on exposing the lies and manipulations within the gender ideology, while specifically highlighting issues of safeguarding instincts and embodiment. The instinct. This is the weirdest thing when the TERFs go like, we're wired to recognize men because it's instinctual. They're not safe. How do they I don't know how they reconcile being heterosexual. I honestly don't even know if they do at this point. Oh gosh. She says, I've purposefully avoided including details about my personal life because I want to protect my privacy. However, the current circumstances with breast cancer are compelling me to take the whole personal is political approach and use my experiences to shed new light on the values and practices of transgenderism. Please tell me more about how your cisgender experience with breast cancer sheds light on transgenderism. Oh gosh. Transgender propaganda, marketing, and so-called gender-affirming care. What's funny about this is that if she has to have a mastectomy and then has reconstructive surgery to put a new boob there, that's the gender-affirming aspect of getting breast cancer. Fascinating. But we consider this normal as a society. We consider it normal for cis people to seek gender-affirming care because, of course, you know, if a woman gets breast cancer and she loses her breasts and she feels like less of a woman because of it, then yeah, like we consider it normal for her to want breast implants. Because again, cis people's gender dysphoria is not pathologized. It's considered normal, but transgender people's gender dysphoria is considered aberrant and is pathologized in that way. Friends have urged me to write about my breast cancer as a sex-specific medical issue. Again, like, men get breast cancer, but whatever. I've been reluctant to publicly share because of the fear and heartache about the tumors growing in my breast. I mean, I imagine that would be scary. I personally would probably be really upset if I got breast cancer for numerous reasons. I haven't wanted to talk about how exhausting and uncomfortable it's been. Ultrasounds, MRIs, PET scans, bone scans, echocardiograms, biopsies, and the surgery for a chest port. That's like, a chest port is when they install a little thing in your chest. It's like so that you can easily get a needle stuck in there, like repeatedly, because you have to go in for treatment like every week or sometimes multiple times a week. So, you know, and obviously, yeah, like I don't want to downplay in any situation how difficult it is to go through cancer treatment. It's terrifying. Like, and the chance of you getting cancer again later is awful. You know, if any of you are fans of Hank Green, I cried when he told everybody that he had cancer because I was like, oh my God, even if it's a very treatable cancer, like it still changes how you live your life and it changes your potential future, you know, your potential future circumstances, your future medical history. Also worth pointing out that, yeah, trans women get breast cancer too. Yeah, imagine realizing that you're a trans woman, taking the medicine, growing tits, and then having to have one of your tits removed because of breast cancer. Bro, I would fucking lose it. I cannot imagine. That would be wild. But of course, again, cisgender people's feelings are more valid. Don't you know? I don't want to speak about how sick I was during the rounds of chemotherapy. I don't want to publicly reveal how it feels to have my hair fall out. I haven't wanted to speak up about any of this because fighting to save my breast has sparked a new passion in me to make purpose and meaning out of this personal mess. Mastectomy versus top surgery. Of course, these procedures are a little bit different, so I wonder what she's going to say about that. The surgeon and the oncologist have told me I may need to have a mastectomy, which is to say that we would need to amputate the breast. The fear, rage, and repulsion this has evoked in me has been overpowering. I am overwhelmed both with fierce love for my body, my breast, and an icy cold panic over the fact that I may lose this part of me, this part which is me, part of the wholeness of me, and I don't want to lose any of me. Yeah, again, I can imagine that's crazy. You know, it seems like, actually, the feelings that this is evoking in her are feelings of gender dysphoria. Like the intense distress that she seems to be experiencing over the idea of her losing her breast because her breast is part of her in that way, right? And like, yeah, I think that probably trans women would feel the same way. Like, I worked hard for these boobs. Like, if I lose them, it feels like losing a part of me because I am embodying myself finally. And like, to not have that, I can imagine is very distressing because like, I know what gender dysphoria feels like, you know, if you were to have this integral part of you removed, or if you had some part that you felt was integral that you never had the opportunity to have in the first place, as in the case of, trans men who really wish that they had been born with a penis, or trans girls who really wish that they had breasts. Like, these feelings are not alien. I just think that, you know, again, the cis person thinks that her way of seeing her body is normal. Like, is she gonna have reconstructive surgery? Because that is considered normal. I guess she only has tumors in one breast. So if she has that breast removed, then, you know, would she grow to accept her new body? Or would she feel bad and need reconstructive surgery? Right, yeah, it seems like she should be arguing on our side, but she's not. She's trying really hard not to lose her breast. Basically, she's trying a whole bunch of treatments. She's doing both both traditional and naturopathic medicine, which I think naturopathic medicine is also known as not medicine. She's been working on diet, exercise, and lifestyle, trying to fight the cancer and save the breasts. She's doing chemotherapy. She really doesn't want to lose the breast. She says, if in the end they have to take it, it will not be because I didn't do all I could to save it. I'm putting in maximum effort because, the maximum effort I know how. And because of this, it strikes me like a slap in the face how cavalier these young girls who get, quote, top surgery are with chopping off their breasts, as if their breasts are trash, as if they have no value, as if they are not a beloved part of their bodies. Babe, this is a classic case of, like, a person who is incapable of imagining that life is different for others. You know, the whole point of a trans man getting top surgery is that the breasts are not a beloved part of their bodies. That the revulsion she feels at the idea of losing her breast is the same revulsion that trans men feel sometimes about having breasts in the first place. Right? Yeah, imagine a person could be different from me. No, impossible. Impossible. Everybody feels the same way that I do about my body. And maybe it's just like projection. Like, she feels that those parts are beloved. But, and like, yeah, again, can't imagine that other people feel differently. The profanity of the image below is revolting and galling. I will speak more on the issues of publicity, marketing, and glamorization in part 2 of this series. I'm going to kind of scroll past this picture pretty quickly because I don't know if I can show it. I don't think there's any actual gore in the picture, but it kind of looks like it. So I'm just going to like swoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-whoop. It's an Instagram photo from Gottmik from RuPaul's Drag Race, pictured in a hospital bed showing off a bag of, like, the bag is supposed to be like bloody breasts that have been cut off, and then top surgery scars that are bright red and have glitter or sparkles on them. So I didn't actually watch the I didn't watch the episode, but I did see that Ty Turner was speaking about this, like the top surgery look on RuPaul's Drag Race that was causing so much kerfuffle, like so much hullabaloo. I just personally hadn't looked into it yet, so this was my first time getting to see that person's outfit. Embodiment versus compartmentalization. Confronting the possible loss. Hold on, bring chat back. Confronting the possible loss of my breast is a terrifying experience. In terms of my embodiment, my breast is not just some discrete, compartmentalized, separate part of me. It is an integral part of what makes me whole. I'm so glad for you. Lots of trans men don't feel that way. Like, lots of trans men feel like the breast is like something that makes their body less their own. Like, lots of trans men would love to be able to feel fully embodied, but they feel like they have to compartmentalize this part away because it makes them feel less themselves. I rationally understand that mastectomy is being suggested because of my health. My instinctual response is to recoil from the idea and reject it outright. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's gender dysphoria. Congratulations. Regardless of the necessity of this, quote, treatment, I experience the idea of it as an amputation, a severing, a cutting off of myself from myself. Yeah, again, like, I think that's awful. And I'm sure that a lot of women who go through mastectomy feel differently, like feel the same way about that. This severing is antithetical to the holistic integrity of my embodiment. I have spoken about the values of embodiment as an antithesis to the dissociative values of trans ideology. Like, okay, girl, again, trans people would love to be able to be fully embodied. That's what hormones and surgery allow for a lot of trans people. Like, it allows you to not feel like you need to dissociate because your body is not your own. That's the thing. Like, the idea that someone else could tell you that you can't get surgery, like the idea that someone else could decide for you whether or not you get to do this, you know, they're making your body not your own functionally. Yeah, there is like a serious lack of empathy here that you cannot imagine that the revulsion you feel, like you recoil from the idea of cutting off your breast. Like, okay, that feeling is how trans men feel about having breasts sometimes. Yeah, well done crashing directly into the point and still missing it entirely. Embodiment here meaning the state of being fully occupied, to be at one with and in integrity with one's body, sense perceptions, and instincts. Okay, yeah, I mean, people talk about mindfulness, and I have kind of switched to talking about embodiment because I think mindfulness has a bad reputation. Like, I don't disagree with the concept of embodiment. I just think you can embody your body fully and also recognize that it isn't the way that you want it to be. You can love your body and want to change it at the same time. That's dialectical thinking. Like, I can love my body and fully inhabit my body and care for it and all this, while at the same time going, yeah, I do want that surgery. I'm not going to hate my body now because my body is still doing a lot of work to support me. And like, as a disabled person, it's also like, there's like this kind of conflict sometimes with your body. And I don't think that she's disabled, so this is me speaking as a disabled person, but when your body is preventing you from doing things, like when your body is preventing you from doing something you want to do or something you need to do, it can be especially difficult to feel like you can fully appreciate and love your body and like fully be in it, like in any given moment. Like, you know, you might feel like you wish that you could escape your body. Like, I do feel like the kind of uncomplicated relationship she has with embodying her body is, first of all, she's cisgender. So she can fully embody her body without there being any kind of conflict or any kind of negativity. And I think she's able-bodied, aside from like having cancer right now. Like the fact that she is so privileged as to not experience dissonance with her body, or to not feel like her body is holding her back in some way, that her body is preventing her from being fully and wholly herself. You know, that's the kind of privilege that most people are not aware exists. And like, this is the first time in her life that she's experiencing dissonance with her body, you know, making her feel less herself. Like the idea that this breast that she loves so much is killing her potentially. Like third stage breast cancer is, you know, I think fourth stage is like the last stage. Yeah, like this is, I imagine it's quite challenging. Realizing that you're disabled is challenging. Dealing with gender dysphoria is challenging. I can't imagine personally having my own feelings of dysphoria or struggle with a part of my body that I love also being a source of medical complication. Like, I can't imagine turning that around and being like, and I hate this group of people and I'm going to double down on it. Like, all right, cool. Some of the common phrasings we use when speaking about our bodies can lead to a confused way of how we imagine our experience of embodiment. These common ways of conceptualizing our bodies are an abstraction of our direct sensory perceptions and do not accurately depict the lived reality of our experiences. these kinds of abstractions can lead to a dissociative way of thinking about ourselves, our experiences, and our bodies. Let's go. Let me drink water first. Okay. The first thing that she thinks is incorrect is we all have a body. We do not, quote, have a body because bodies are not objects that we possess. We are embodied. I think that that's a problem because I think the idea that you do not own your body is why we have the erosion of personal autonomy rights in my country. I don't know where she's from. She hasn't used any phraseologies or spellings or anything that make me think that she's British, but I don't know for sure because I haven't looked into it. But we own our bodies. You know, people are not allowed to take your organs without permission. And, you know, people shouldn't be allowed to decide legally for you what medicine you're allowed to take or what procedures you're allowed to do. Like, I do think, like, I don't disagree with the idea that, like, to an extent we are our bodies, but I think that it's kind of both. We have our bodies, we own them. It is our only possession at the end of the day that cannot be taken away from us unless it's Repo the Genetic Opera and then like somebody can come steal your organs if they want to. But like, yeah, I think it's both. We own our bodies and we are our bodies because at this point we can't live without our bodies. But at the same time, if you lose a leg, okay, you're still you, even though you have less body than you did before. I am a brain in a meat suit, actually. I respect you. Born in the wrong body, or conversely, no child is born in the wrong body. We are not in our bodies because bodies are not suits we take on and off. We are born as our bodies. So, I mean, okay, trans people, I don't even know if trans people invented this terminology, but this is something that we say to try to help cis people understand what's going on with us, but most of us don't feel like we were born in the wrong body. Like, that phraseology is not common nowadays. I really only see cis people bring this up when they're criticizing previous versions of trans acceptance terminology. Like, yeah, most of us don't say that anymore. She says you don't own your body because she thinks she owns your body. True. Yeah. I think, like, again, this is very privileged. Like, a lot of people who feel either gender alienation or ability alienation from our bodies, we do feel like our bodies are just a thing that we have to work around. And yes, we are born as our bodies, but like, you know, okay, my body prevents me from having as good of a work ethic as I have in my brain. But like, so there's a conflict where I feel like my body makes me less myself. This is where transhumanism comes in. Like, if you have crippling anxiety, like, that anxiety is a natural part of you. It's a natural part of your body and your brain. But like, if you feel that your anxiety is getting in the way of you getting that promotion or you getting a partner or anything, and you like take anxiety medication, like, you're using technology to become more of yourself by overcoming your nature. Like, yeah, I just, like, this is just a woman who's never felt like her body is limiting her or her body is preventing her from being her true self. Because, yeah, again, like, she's cisgender and I don't think that she's disabled in any way. I identify as a woman or identify as a man is also wrong, according to her. Bodies are not things we, quote, identify as because bodies are not projections of our inner beliefs. Regardless of any identity concepts we may mentally hold about ourselves, we are always experiencing ourselves as our bodies. I mean, I don't, like, do I really need to go in and explain for the millionth time that, like, woman and man are social categories that are built on the biological categories? Like, how many times do I have to say in my career that the problem with TERFs is that they are not capable of extricating the biological from the social, you know? Like they cannot break them apart. Yeah, the biological essentialism. You don't own your body because you are your body sounds like it's trying to be deep, but it just sounds like a meaningless distinction to me. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Thorns Have Roses says, I was born as a person that believes they would have been happier being born in a body that does not match the one I am stuck using. My only option is tuning or upgrading parts on this vessel. Yeah, like trans people definitely experience our bodies. We definitely know that they are ours, and we just would like to change them so that they allow us to fully embody better. In the same way that this woman doesn't want to change her body because it currently helps her embody herself fully. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Rather than these statements, it's most accurate to describe our relationship with our bodies by saying we are our bodies. Our bodies are the foundation of all our experiences. I mean, so are our brains. That's the thing, too, about this. They always ignore the brain as part of the body. Like, if your brain is causing you to experience something, then that is also part of your embodied experience. If your brain has an idea of what your body is supposed to be like, and your body doesn't match that, then, like, which supersedes? Like, which is more your body? The thing like that you have down here, or the thing that you're experiencing up here? Like, is the brain not also part of the body? Yeah, really too bad for her. She's gonna have to change her body. It's really sad. We are always subjectively and particularly situated and engaged with our bodies. Yeah, okay. We are never not experiencing our embodiment. I mean, yeah, sure. There is no separation between me and my body. Again, like, that is just not how some people experience it. If you sever my breast, you are severing me. I do not say this in judgment of the medical necessity of women like myself who may require life-saving mastectomies, or against anyone who may need a life-saving surgery that requires a body part amputation. I say this to honor the emotional toll of this kind of procedure. It is natural to love and protect our bodies as ourselves, and it is natural to feel fear and pain if we lose a part of ourselves. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that on its face. It's natural for others to respond in empathy to another's pain. If a person loses a limb, eye, organ, or even a baby toe because of an accident, disease, or violence, this should evoke in others a natural empathetic wince response. Movies depicting war, medical crises, or natural disasters understand exactly this empathetic response. They play on our natural emotional responses to another person's pain. These empathetic responses are beyond our conscious willing. We do not have to mentally rethink to ourselves, that person is hurt. What might it be like to feel that pain? The response is an instantaneous, sensed physical embodiment of their pain. Oh, great. Oh, I was so ready for her to go here. When breast amputation is sold as, quote, top surgery as opposed to mastectomy, it is a subversion of the natural empathetic wince response. Rather than seeing the procedure as a loss of the whole, it is marketed as gender affirming, by which we should understand that this is ego affirming. Okay, going into Freud now. It is a superficial body modification to placate vanity, image, and mental conception of self. She has just contradicted herself. Because if she's saying up here that severing my breast is severing me, but she also is down here saying that getting a gender-affirming surgery is a superficial body modification, like, she seems to be placing them in two different categories where, like, she, like, I mean, I guess it's a little bit better than her saying that a trans man is severing part of themselves by removing part of their body. But, I mean, it's really just that she's trying to portray it as vain, image-oriented, and denigrating the concept of a mental conception of self. Like, which, again, is just a very privileged, cisgender, able-bodied point of view. Like, yeah, kind of where I was expecting her to go with that, I guess, was for her to say, that, that when she sees that someone has gotten top surgery, she has this empathetic wince response. But that's not empathy. Like, if you understood how that person felt about getting this affirming surgery. Like, I wonder, does she feel like men who were born without breasts are like missing part of themselves, and like that they're like, like, should a cis man grow breasts in order to feel like fully affirmed in their body? Or like, again, is it normal for cis men to want to have flat chests, and it's aberrant for trans men to want to have flat chests? The overlap of idiot and TERF is just a circle. Listen, there are some idiots who aren't TERFs, okay? It's more like a rectangle square situation. Oh my God. Also, she just spent the entire thing talking about how much she thinks her breast is a part of herself, her actual self. How is she saying that that's not vain and image-oriented? How is that not superficial? The idea that her womanhood is, like, so integrally wrapped around having breasts. Like, why is that not superficial? Why is that not vain and image-oriented? Why does she feel like she's any less of a woman if she gets a breast cut off? It's because it's gender dysphoria. It's the same feeling that trans women have when they don't have breasts. Again, so-called gender-affirming care treats human beings as a series of Lego separates that can be taken apart and put back together rather than as an embodied whole. I mean, listen, it's really cool, the idea that you can just mix and match. I actually know somebody who wants to have a gender-affirming one boob mastectomy, like, because they're non-binary. They want one boob, and then they want the other boob to get removed. Like, interesting. You know, that is embodiment for some people. That is ideal for some people. It's weird because I, as a trans woman, find myself feeling the same way she does about her womanhood in relation to her body. Yeah, like that going on estrogen and growing breasts and having all those changes, like, that is becoming, like, that is embodiment for a trans woman. And like, yeah, it's the same. Shock and scare tactics, the underlying value of this sales pitch, talking about non-binary surgeries. Oh, she's on the page for nullification. Isn't that great? Clients can mix and match surgeries like a Build-A-Bear workshop, removing and adding body parts to fit an abstracted and dissociated image of oneself. She just, again, is incapable of empathy. Like, the idea that, like, this is embodiment for them, that not having these procedures is the dissociated image. Like, she's going to feel dissociated from her body if she needs to have that mastectomy done. And, like, she's still not going to connect the dots that that's what trans people feel like before they get those procedures done. Some people want one giant boob in the middle of their chest. The uniboob. That's kind of what happens if you have really big boobs and you try to wear a binder. It's kind of like you just get the uniboob. It's pretty funny. I mean, it's really frustrating, actually, but amusing in this context. The cult of gender preaches the ideology of dissociation. But we are fully embodied whole human beings. Our bodies are not just a part of our humanity. Our bodies are our humanity. It is insane to act as if our bodies are inanimate sleeves that hold no meaning for us. I mean, honestly, I feel like trans people's bodies, when we go through transition and the way that we want to, like, our bodies hold more meaning for us than some cis people's bodies, because we had to actually work for it. We had to actually go through a process of becoming. We had to go through a process of evolution. Yeah, we have a cult. True. As if, like, projecting your own feelings about your own body and, like, teaming up with a bunch of people to harass trans people and tell us that we somehow don't have an accurate view of our bodies isn't, like, weird and culty. If she needs a mastectomy, she probably should go for therapy, but not before the surgery. We're not monsters. Yeah, we wouldn't gatekeep her life-saving surgery behind therapy like many, many transphobes think that they should be able to do. Let's just gatekeep life-saving surgery behind years of therapy. Let's do it. Oh yeah, so I'll just call attention here. Nullification is like when you have your genitals like basically removed. You can still pee and everything, but like they get rid of it and you have a smooth genital area like a Barbie. Panectomy is just removal of penis. Zero depth vaginoplasty is when they create a vulva, but they don't give you like an internal canal. You just have like the external appearance of like that's a vulva and a clitoris. Orchiectomy is the removal of testicles. Non-binary chest surgery usually is like a breast reduction or maybe a mastectomy, but they place the nipples in a location that is less standard for top surgery, like chest masculinization. They usually make the nipples smaller and then they put them where cis men usually would have them. But non-binary top surgery kind of has like you can maybe leave the nipples big and then like put them in a place that's like more centered in the chest instead of out to the sides. Anyway, it's really cool. Like the number of different things that you can do is pretty amazing. The very word nullification is a cutting off from sensation. I mean, you can still have sensation. It's just under the smoothness. I mean, listen. Sensation as guidance. All animals, including humans, are born with the adaptive tools to survive in the world, including things like medicine and surgery. Wow. The basis of these tools rests in our embodiment and our ability to respond to the sensations we feel. Sensations are information. Sensations are also feelings, both physical and emotional. To cut ourselves off from sensation is to cut ourselves off from our adaptive capacities. I mean, she's zeroing in on genital nullification here in a weird way. Fascinating. Trans ideology and, quote, gender-affirming care is a subversion of the natural pain/pleasure response system. What? When pain is equated with authenticity, this dissociates the subject from being able to be attuned and responsive to their instinctual guidance system. Listen, I think most of us would agree. If you're trans in the chat, let me know if you agree with this statement. I don't want to have surgery, but I want to have my body. Right? Because I am sort of the opinion that, like, I don't really want to have surgery. I'm not equating the pain of surgery with authenticity. Like, it's not that, like, I'm psyched about having surgery. I just want to have the body that I want. And that involves necessarily going through a surgical procedure. Like this, this woman has never listened to a trans person in her life. She's just inventing and imagining all these different things and assuming that her imagination is accurate to what people are experiencing. Like, you know, the idea that it's like, I need to go through surgery and have a painful recovery and be unable to lift my arms for 6 weeks in order to really be myself. Like, oh my God, I really need this procedure in order to finally be myself. It's like Ollie London with his millions of procedures on his face. I want surgery, TBH. I mean, like, I'm not excited about the prospect of going under general anesthesia or being in a hospital or having to stay in a hospital as I'm recovering from surgery. Like, I can find things about that process to be excited about. Like, I can find good things in it. But it's a necessary step if I want this certain type of embodiment, you know? Yeah, like, if we could do it by magic, most of us would, because we would rather not deal with the pain. That's not the goal. But it's like, yeah, you naturally have to go through this in order to, like, if you want to have no boobs, you have to have a surgery. There is no bra of holding that will just make the tits go away. Does her argument around sensory embodiment imply that blind and deaf people are incomplete? That's what I'm saying. There's so much ableism in this as well. I value my life experience, but if I did have a magic button that would let me retroactively change my physical form, I would press it so fast. Right. It would be great if we could just snap our fingers and then look at that, we have our bodies. But yeah, like this is it's a trial we go through in order to fully embody. Thank you, Cypation, for the gifted tier 1 sub. Prosy Rosie, enjoy your dicks. All right. Yeah, thank you so much. Great to get some donations in. Brings us up to 1638 for today. Look at that. That 5 pounds really threw us off. Yeah, I cast gender affirmation. Like, I don't know. Let's all become wizards, I guess. Okay, that's basically the end of the article. Like, I plan to write a number of essays on this topic. And then she's like, I'm going to be exploring some more issues. Man, I don't think I've ever wanted somebody to lose to cancer as badly as I do right now. Oh, man. Oh, man. It would be one thing if they kept their feelings to themselves. It would be one thing if they kept it private. It's like, why don't you just focus on the struggle that you're going through right now? Why don't you just focus on getting better? I'm sure that obsessing about trans people is not going to help your recovery here. Like, why don't you just focus on your own shit and shut the fuck up about what other people are doing with their lives? Okay, so we could cash cow this lady for months. Part 2 is going to be glamorization of breast amputation and marketing self-harm. Part 3 is going to be gleeful dissociation and giddy post-op girls. And by girls, she means trans men and non-binary people. And then part 4 is going to be surgeons speak on mastectomies versus top surgeries. Wow, it's almost like they're 2 different procedures done for 2 different reasons. Like, with when you get top surgery, they leave some of the breast material there because they're creating a certain masculine shape. I mean, most of the time it's a masculinizing procedure. With a mastectomy for cancer, you end up with a slightly caved-in chest because they have to remove all of the breast tissue, you know? Anyway, why don't you try to imagine what it's like for other people to have different experiences than you? I think is kind of the long and short of this. Like, I am so sorry that you have cancer. I'm sure that that's terrible. I have had a complicated relationship with my body, but if I got breast cancer and I had to have a mastectomy, I would be fucking very upset. Not because I feel like that is an inherently gendered part of me or whatever, but like it is part of my body. I had to work to accept. I mean, that's the thing that probably would be the most upsetting is that I have had to work to figure out how I feel about my body. And I've had to work to realizing that my gender is not less valid because unlike many transmasculine individuals, I don't want to have top surgery. And like the idea that I would be forced into it. There was a time in my life where I kind of did wish that I got breast cancer because then I could get top surgery and, you know, not have to feel conflicted about it. But yeah, like I worked to accept my gender, that I am non-binary, that there are loads of people who wish that they had itty bitty titties like me in order to like be androgynous and be able to choose which gender presentation they go with. Like I did, you know, so I could see it being upsetting if I was like, now the choice is taken away from me, you know? But yeah, I feel like if I had breast cancer, I would like the last thing I would want to do is think about transphobes. Whereas this transphobe has cancer and she is using it as an opportunity to attack trans people for them seeking embodiment. Like trans people seeking embodiment is a bad thing to her because she views it as a type of dissociation. I really kind of hope that she has to have the tit cut off so that she can understand why someone might have surgery in order to affirm their gender. But she's never going to see it that way. Like, she's never going to see anything that she's doing as gender affirming because she views it as different somehow than sex-based medicine. Whatever. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to put this in my notes. It's going in my notes. Thank you to whoever shared this in the Discord server. I really appreciate you. Weird cancer lady. There we go. Come back, chat. I miss you. I miss you. Someone asked me before we started that segment if I was going to do any videos about dressing rabbits. Was someone asking me if I was going to show a how-to video of like how to dress a rabbit? Probably not at first. Probably not until I've done it a few times. Nikola Tesla believed 100 plus years ago that the human body is just a vessel for the energy that makes human consciousness, and that is what we are, and that in some point in our evolution we'll be able to shape them and even change them at will. I don't know how right he was about that, but most of his scientific claims turned out to be precise, so it makes you think a little. Yeah, that's really interesting, Igor. That is interesting. I hope that she appreciates the ability to choose what she is going to do rather than wanting something and being denied. Right, imagine if she wanted to have a reconstruction done after she has the boob cut off and she was denied it because it wasn't medically necessary. Like, imagine that. But no, it's typically covered as part of the process. I have a friend who got breast cancer at age 26 because they're Ashkenazi and have the BRCA2 gene, and like, oh gosh, thank you. Hold on one second. My friend got breast cancer at 26 and had chemo and then a mastectomy and then reconstructive surgery. And now it's been a few years and they are thinking about getting a revision done because apparently the first breast augmentation that gets done is like frequently not a fully desirable outcome. So now they're looking into potentially having a revision done. But those things are covered by insurance. Like, all of the reconstructive surgeries involved with, like, after mastectomy and you want to put the boob back with, like, silicone implants or whatever, all of that is considered a normal, routine, covered part of breast cancer treatment. Thank you, Alice Rosas, for the $15 donation. Says, I just started watching, so I don't have all the context, but I don't want any surgery. I want the results of those surgeries. The parts before that are why I probably won't get many, if any at all. Right. Thank you. Exactly, Alice. Thank you so much for pitching in on that. Like, most people in the chat here who want to change their bodies feel the same way. Where, you know, we're like, I don't want to have to go through surgery. I mean, for phalloplasty, it's like multiple stages of surgery. Like, I don't think most people want to deal with multiple stages of surgery, like years of surgery and recovery and surgery and recovery and complications and revisions. Like, we just want to live our lives. And it just so happens that in order to embody ourselves fully, we have to have XYZ procedures done. Mama, listen. So spicy. Kitty says, a totally finished, fully advanced automaton is a robot that intakes a fuel source and is constantly reproducing new microbots that take care of the overall structure of the bot until eventually there are too many faults and the bot will be forced to shut down or be maintained externally. sounds a lot like how we work with meat instead of metal. We do have a lot of metals in our body, though. Oh my gosh. I might actually become a green tea person because we were speaking recently about okay, that brings up the total to 31.38 for today. So 31.38 for today. Thank you for your donations, y'all. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so sorry. We were reading recently about how green tea can apparently prevent you from absorbing mercury into your body. And it's like I would love to eat fish more often, but I don't want mercury all up in my bones, all up in my muscles. Like, imagine being able to, like, listen to what other people say about their experiences in their bodies, huh? Weird. Oh man, the hunger is hitting right now. Jeez Louise. Yummy mercury poison. Humans are advanced robots, confirmed. Lamau. I mean, yeah, isn't that kind of the whole discussion in that Star Trek episode, The Measure of a Man? Is there a chart or something to look up for the best place to get a vaginoplasty in the US? I don't really know how it is for the ladies, but for trans men or people who want phalloplasty, I have found that Facebook groups are the best resource. Maybe others in the chat would have better recommendations. I am not sure who are the best bottom surgeons for the girlies. Oh, true. Even naturally, we have... Oh, I didn't realize that calcium was considered a metal. I mean, I guess that makes sense. So the calcium in our bones is metal, and red blood cells are red because of iron oxide. Yeah, that's true, for sure. Do we feed the fish green tea? I guess you could feed the fish green tea, and then it would be in their blood instead of in their muscles, the mercury. Let's just start dumping a bunch of green tea in the waterways. I was going to say downwind, downstream of factory farming operations. Facebook and Reddit, I suppose. Yeah. I have found a lot of value in private Facebook groups when I'm trying to learn about surgeries. I actually just recently left all the top surgery groups that I was in because I was like, no, I for sure don't need top surgery, and I think I know everything about top surgery that I would need to know in order to tell someone, like in order to answer any questions that somebody has. What if those fish prefer coffee to tea? Too bad. Too bad. Sucks to suck. Horrendous. Okay, so I had like two other topics that I was kind of thinking about talking. So where's the mercury coming from in the water? It's from factory farming, I'm pretty sure. It's like some process of factory farming. What if we planted tea plants in the river? True! The leaves would brew the river on their own. That would work. Hypothetically. I don't actually know if they would survive submerged, but you know. Yeah, mercury in the water is it's a byproduct of factory farming, industrialized agriculture. Yawn! Drink more water. More water, babes. Hail hydrate. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that industrialized agriculture is like the reason why there's a bunch of poison in our water. Gorge. Okay, mercury in the fish is how we get RFK Jr. Thorns Have Roses in the YouTube chat says, my therapists are a great resource for surgeons that can be trusted. Since they generally have to write letters for patients, they would hear who did a good job or not. And they're usually wonderful advocates. Yeah, so if you go see a therapist that gives referrals to trans people. Oxpecker, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. There is a TikTok link in this donation. Let me see what the TikTok says. Oh my, is this music? I don't have the sound on right this moment. Hold on, let me... Have you given us a link to your music? Headphones. Oh, that sounds cool. I'm not going to listen to the whole thing on stream because YouTube does all kinds of weird fucked up shit when you play music in the stream, but that's cool. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to stop playing it now. Yeah. Very, very cool. Thank you. Come back, chat. I miss you. Too poor for therapy right now, just trying to get out of Texas. Fucking true, yeah. I might actually be done with therapy soon. Like, I'm about to do trauma therapy again. Yeah, I have like a lot of issues that stemmed from my IUD placement 2 years ago. So I'm about to do trauma therapy. And I can definitely already tell that it's going to be very unpleasant. I'm going to get through it. I did it before. It's going to be fine. But just the very particular mixture of issues that I'm dealing with, like the therapy is going to suck. And I'm imagining that pretty shortly after we finish that, I'm going to be like, well, I don't really know that I have a benefit that I'm going to get from resuming talk therapy. We might continue for a couple more sessions just to be like, let me make sure that everything's okay. But yeah, there's a good possibility that I might be like wrapping up my therapy journey, at least for now. I could potentially start up again later, but... Have you done acupuncture? I have not seen sufficient evidence to indicate that acupuncture is effective for the things that they claim that it does. It's kind of like chiropractic. Like I'm sure that if you do chiropractic, they can like adjust your neck or whatever. But if they try to claim that, oh, it's gonna have all these downstream benefits, then like, yeah, I don't really think so. IED placement, no, IUD, intrauterine device. Or, as we could also call it, like, medieval fucked up, like, no adequate pain management, yanking your inner organs around with a claw. Horrible. Terrifying. Awful. I'm so upset about it. But yeah, we're gonna do the whole approximately 2 to 3 months of prolonged exposure, and then hopefully I will be not fucked up anymore. Wouldn't that be lovely? I haven't seen Final Destination 5. I've only seen the first 3 of those movies. Yeah, I would never get my neck adjusted at a chiropractor. A lot of people die from neck adjustments. My views on chiropractics changed when I found out the guy who invented it learned how to do it from a ghost. Wasn't someone recommending to me in chat that chiropractor could adjust like the fact that one of my sides of my hip is higher? Improvised uterine device, true. Yeah, isn't this a great fan? Oh yeah, let me add that $5 donation. That brings us up to $36.38 for today. Thank you all so much for your donations. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hitting like on the stream. Thanks for participating in the conversation. It's been a good one. Four is the worst Final Destination. I was a big fan of Final Destination 3. That's the one that I would rewatch when I was a teenager. When I was a young warthog. Oh my god, I need glasses. My eyes hurt. Ugh. I get glasses this week. I'm very excited. I'm gonna be sexy librarian. Yawn. Okay. Do we have any opinions? So apparently, there have been an increase of youth trans suicides since they made it impossible for youths to get trans healthcare access, right? So that's one of the stories that I was thinking about talking about. And then there's also the fact that more places in the United States, yes, I'm going to need to do Glasses Fansly content. More people in the United States are trying to pass mask bans for like the COVID masks, you know? Getting glasses when you need them is such a relief. Yeah, I'm really hoping that it cuts down on the number of headaches that I experience. Like my eyeballs just hurt right now, like behind my eyeballs. True, Ben. I also hate this place. It's like, wow, I can see the leaves on trees from the ground. Crazy. Yeah, I'm not getting any glasses that are going to fix my long-range vision. I have astigmatism. But mostly I'm nearsighted. Or sorry, no, it's the opposite. I'm farsighted. So I have a hard time focusing on things far away, even though I have clearer vision far away. But I genuinely can't see very well close up. I mean, not as well. I'm not like blind. It's not like super blurry, but the cast report covered up a fair number of teen suicides following a ban of teen care several years back. But I need my mask. I know. Make sure the glasses fit you well so they don't have too much pressure. Oh, you mean like here? Like on the sides of the head? Blue light blocking prescriptions are real nice when you work at a computer for a living. We decided not to do blue light blocking, but we did get, we're going to do an anti-glare film on them. But yeah, my glasses are basically for work, like for when I'm sitting at the computer. God. Ugh. Okay, let me see. What is the proposed issue with masks that might ban them? I mean, it's like a Law and Order thing. They're claiming that it, like, oh, what about crime? There was actually I saw someone talking about how there was a Law and Order episode where some men attacked a woman on the subway and they were described as wearing COVID masks. So, like, it's even making it into the media, this idea that people wear masks to get away with crimes. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find... because it was like a couple weeks ago that I was looking at the mask bans thing. Let me see if I can find some of those links. It's gonna take me a second here. Don't be afraid to go back to get them adjusted. If you feel tension behind your ears or on your nose after a few days of wearing them, do not adjust them yourself. Your optometrist will do it for free. And I have snapped many pairs being lazy. I'll check. Have you seen the NWS heat risk map? It's a handy map for heat waves. No, I have not seen that, Neve. NMS heat map. It's just fucking 95 degrees every day in Kansas right now. Like, it's just constant heat wave. Wearing masks to do crimes has always been a thing, though. The whole ski mask wearing bandits have been in media for a while, but we all know that truly it's to guarantee the right to be a walking public health hazard. Yeah, I don't understand. It's like some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Excuse me. Oh my god. Getting some links together and resting my voice for a second. Why make masks illegal when we can just make crime illegal? It's a beautiful 70 degrees here. It's supposed to be 70s here. God damn you. It's too dry and windy, though. Feels like a fire waiting to happen. Yeah, that's the that's the difficult thing about living in the Northwest. The heat down south is like extra gravity. Yeah. Okay. I'm checking to see if there's anything else. I need my links. Yeah, that dry season is just going to keep getting worse and worse for sure. Should I make sketty and meatballs or broccoli and beef in sweet and spicy sauce for dinner tonight? Okay, my humble opinion is that you should make sketty and meatballs, but that's because fucking nobody that I cook for likes to eat spaghetti and meatballs, so it's one of those things where I might just have to like make myself spaghetti and meatballs for lunch someday. Oh man, I love spaghetti. It's so delicious. I believe that criminals did take advantage when wearing a mask wouldn't draw attention. Yeah, but now wearing a mask is going to draw attention to you. Like, people are looking at you if you're wearing a mask now. We have a tied vote. No. I'm the United States at the UN. My vote or lack of vote can supersede everybody else's vote. That's how this works. Cursed knowledge. I'm making spaghetti with Italian sausage tonight. Shut up! No, I'm definitely getting to the hunger part of the show. Definitely the hungry part of the show. Voting broccoli and beef because my son eats nothing but spaghetti. Okay, fair enough. If you had to eat it all the time, then yeah, it would be obnoxious. But it's like, I want to eat spaghetti occasionally. Sad. Cry for me. Sorry, Lux, but you're just Canada. Ugh. Sad. Bro, are we going to get to 200 likes today? That's crazy. This is the Hungry Games. True. I made fettuccine with caramelized onions and sausage tonight. Ooh, that sounds good too. Yeah, it's crazy. Normally I do this for 4 hours, but I'm so tired right now. Hello, Crease. Welcome in. Oh, hi. Okay, let's do this mask segment, and then that might be it for me tonight. That might be it. Literally me making sketty right now. Ah. Oh, you've missed some things, Crease. We talked about the Supreme Court making homelessness illegal, and we talked about a lady who thinks that her view on her body should dictate whether trans people get health care. And now we're about to lead into talking about proposed mask bans. And like maybe even one of them passed already. Yeah. Charlotte says like the stream, maybe? Maybe? Maybe. Maybe. We're so close to that 200. I don't know if somebody's going to come in and drop a fat donation to get us to the dono goal for today, but that's okay. We did get a few donations and they are deeply appreciated. Did one of these pass? Like, I thought that one of them passed. I prefer the thirsty part of the show rather than the hungry part of the show. Listen. Mm. Ooh, 199 likes. I got 199 problems, and not getting enough likes is not one. Okay. So I'm a COVID conscious YouTuber, and I think that that kind of hurts the channel sometimes. I think that people don't like being reminded of what's going on with the whole situation. People want to believe the CDC when they say that they are like, oh, the emergency's over. COVID's no longer a big deal. Oh, you only have to isolate for 1 day. Maybe they don't know that the CDC is a political organization and not a scientific organization. Maybe they don't know that the CDC also said that HIV was no big deal and that they didn't need to do anything to prevent the spread and they didn't need to issue any public health guidance in order to prevent widespread harm. Like, yeah, the same CDC now who is telling you that it's whatever if you catch COVID multiple times a year, also said that HIV was no big deal, right? So we don't know enough about COVID to feel confident that it's like no big deal. In fact, like there's tons of evidence that COVID causes brain damage and COVID causes heart attacks and strokes and COVID causes MECFS. If you are familiar with Physics Girl, Diana, on YouTube, she is actually about to, as of this stream, she is about to do an all-day live stream showing like a day in the life of someone with long COVID MECFS, where she just doesn't get out of bed all day, basically. Her partner makes her food, brings it to her, the lights are off most of the day. She can't even she's not even on her phone all day in bed. She's just laying there all day because that's what long COVID can do to you. Like, it can rob you of your life, which to me is more scary than the literal dying. So I wear a mask everywhere I go. And I recommend that you all wear masks and make sure your vaccinations are up to date. And, you know, there are certain nasal sprays with xylitol can help reduce your virality, and mouth washes with CPC in them can reduce your virality. Like, there are things that you can do, and you can still live your life. You can still go see people. You can, I would say, don't eat at restaurants. And like, I would probably personally still avoid going to like big indoor events like concerts. But I do the Renaissance Festival every year. That's like a pretty big event. And I go out and I take my precautions, and I have not gotten severely sick. I might have gotten minorly sick last year, but I don't get majorly sick, right? You can still live your life if you wear a mask. I wear a mask at the gym. I wear a mask at the grocery store, like a full-on N95. And I think that is a completely appropriate level of precaution, given everything I know about this disease, given the fact that I already have health issues that have me doing this as my full-time job instead of working out in the world as a normal job. I have limitations, right? And I think, like many of you, I can't afford to work any less than I do. So I would say for you, you should wear a mask. You should protect yourself, because the public health messaging on this is not going great. Like, not going great. They've left it up to us to protect ourselves. Except there are places that are now trying to ban masks in public. Banning masks in public. The mayor of LA, who I think that she has now just recently tested positive for COVID, like more recently than this tweet that I'm looking at. The LA mayor wants to ban masks at protests specifically. And this person listed some things that you can do, some people that you can get in touch with to prevent that from happening. This really started in North Carolina. That was the first proposed ban. There's also been one proposed in New York. There was a health exception ban. So it started off saying, it shall be unlawful for any person or persons involved in a lawful assembly, unlawful assembly, or riot. So, any person at a protest to wear a hood, mask, or device whereby the person or person's face is disguised so as to conceal the identity of the wearer. This section shall not apply to any person or persons wearing personal protective equipment for the purpose of ensuring the physical health or safety of the wearer or others, only during a declared public health emergency. So if you want, in New York, under this proposed act, if you want to go to a protest and protect yourself from COVID or flu or anything else going around, you are only legally allowed to do so during a declared public health emergency. So that's the government deciding when and where you're allowed to wear a mask. I think this is a pretty clear-cut First Amendment violation. There was a case back during the Vietnam War regarding like these armbands with a peace sign or whatever on them, and like whether schools had the right to prevent students from wearing those. And it was like, no, like the Supreme, I'm pretty sure it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they determined, no, this is like the right to freedom of speech includes like the freedom of expression, and freedom of expression is protected under the First Amendment. Like, number one amendment, the number one rule that's tacked onto the Constitution is you have to allow people to express themselves. So I think wearing a mask in public, like if you were just walking by the protest, you're like, I'm not participating in the protest, I'm just trying to get off the subway, but you're wearing your mask, would that be an issue? There was also a proposed ban on masking in the subway. That was something I was seeing. Like, people were pretty upset that, I guess for allegedly crime-related reasons, there was a proposal to just ban masks on the subway entirely in New York as well, even unrelated to a protest. I have a Forbes article open. So yeah, there are some jurisdictions that are doing a 180 on this public health policy, where previously there were mandates that you must wear a mask, and now they're reversing that. Advocates for bans say that face coverings make it impossible for law enforcement to identify people who break the law. I mean, they do a terrible job anyway. How often do the police go accost a black dude because they cannot tell black people apart? You know, like, do you really think the masks are going to make their jobs harder? But also anything that makes police jobs harder, I'm like not going to complain about. The movement to ban masks began in North Carolina, where the state Senate voted along party lines back in May in favor of a proposal to prohibit wearing masks in public. The bill repealed an exception to old anti-mask laws that was enacted during the early phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, allowing people to wear masks in public for, quote, health and safety reasons. Supporters of the ban, Republican supporters of the ban, said that it's going to help law enforcement, quote, crack down on pro-Palestine protesters who wear masks. So, okay, like, keeping in mind that this is not just about COVID and, like, you know, the spread of COVID, but it is also, like, this kind of racist and, like, anti-progressive cracking down on pro-Palestine protesters. Because we did cover a while back, we did a video about how there were some people who were being charged with, like, a felony for wearing a mask while doing something else that was illegal or something, out of, like, being accused of doing something illegal at a protest, because, like, that can up the charges in some places. Like, if you, it's kind of like how if you commit a murder while you are committing a robbery, that increases the murder charge, basically. And so in this case, it was like, yeah, if you commit some kind of crime, like if you're stealing and you're also wearing a mask, then that increases the crime. It, like, increases the punishment. Yeah, at least they didn't say pro-Hamas this time. They are accusing demonstrators of, quote, abusing COVID-19 pandemic-era practices to hide their identities. Like, okay, cool. Actions to forbid masks are also being considered in other jurisdictions, which had previously implemented mask mandates during COVID-19 pandemic. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York said she's considering banning face masks throughout New York City's public transit system over concerns that the coverings obscure the identities of people committing anti-Semitic acts. So again, leveraging this whole everybody has to be pro-Israel crap. In Chicago, Alderman Raymond Lopez introduced an ordinance to for, quote, enhanced penalties for concealing or attempting to conceal identity, namely by people who wear, quote, full face masks while committing crimes. An N95 only covers this part of your face. Is that considered a full face mask? I don't know. Are you allowed to, instead of a full face mask, if you just wear one of these, you'll wear like a little Batman mask? That's acceptable? Yeah, we're not anti-health, we're just pro-genocide. And you aren't allowed to be anti-genocide. On the bright side, I'm sure the KKK is seething. I mean, the thing is that it's one of those deals where a person who is in the KKK is buddies with the police. Like, things that are illegal are only illegal for certain groups, actually. And things that are legal are only legal for certain groups, actually. It's like concealed carry or even open carry is only functionally legal for white people. And, like, not using your turn signal is illegal, but functionally only illegal for black folks and other people of color, right? Like, a white person cannot use their turn signal and it doesn't matter. Like, if we increase the punishment, then, like, it's not going to mean that those white people who are inconsiderate drivers, like, they're not going to get punished any more often. Yeah, walking is fine, but walking while black, sus. You ever wonder why you basically never see a black person jogging? Have you ever thought about that? You see white people jogging all the time. You never see black people jogging. And on the rare occasions when they do, and I have seen stories of a black dude saying, like, I was jogging for exercise reasons, and I was very clearly wearing athletic clothing, like the tight-fitting athletic clothing. I had my water bottle with me and everything. Had my sweatband on. I don't actually know. I'm like editorializing at this point, but like had a sweatband on his head and everything, and like getting stopped by a police officer. Jogging while black. Not legal. And true, yeah, meanwhile, cops themselves will wear masks and block their badge numbers while doing violence on protesters and killing innocent people in no-knock warrants. Yeah, I feel like it should be illegal for them to cover their badge number. Yes, I remember that. There was a nationally famous case where 2 white dudes killed a black dude who was out jogging. And I don't even think that those guys got punished, or like that there was some question about whether they were going to get adequately punished. Ahmaud Arbery, yes, thank you for including that name there. Yeah, Ahmaud Arbery, just a black dude exercising for his health, was like basically lynched, I think is the term that you would use. Just shot, I think, killed in public. So North Carolina's anti-mask policy has actually passed into law. After the governor vetoed a revised version of the anti-mask bill, the legislation was ratified late last month after Republican lawmakers successfully overrode the governor's veto. They have enough Republicans in North Carolina to override the veto. The reworked version of the bill made it clear that increases in punishments would be imposed on people wearing masks, quote, while committing a crime, not merely doing so for a health reason. So, like, according to the letter of the law, you are allowed to wear a mask so long as you are not committing a different crime. But obviously, Democrats in North Carolina are not convinced by that. There are still concerns that police could interpret the law as justification for searching or apprehending people who are simply wearing a mask. Right. Like, if you have a small amount of cannabis on your person and you're just walking around like normal and you're wearing a mask, if the cops decide to frisk you because you're wearing a mask, like, oh, look at that, they found contraband, now you're going to get some trumped up increased charge for wearing a mask while committing a different crime. Okay, the dudes who killed Ahmaud Arbery were convicted. Yeah, that's good. I was not sure what the punishments were. Obviously, opponents of these mask bans assert that these bans pose a danger to public health. When the North Carolina Senate first introduced the proposal to restrict usage of masks in public, experts raised specific concerns about the bill's impact on the immunocompromised or those who may want to continue wearing masks during cancer treatments. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to get COVID just because, like, of the regular fucked up things that it can do to otherwise healthy people. You hear stories of people who are like, oh yeah, I used to run marathons and now I can barely walk up my stairs. Like, you know, it happens to loads of people. But yeah, there are people who are like sick with an immunocompromised situation, like who had an organ transplant 5 years ago and they take immune suppressant drugs, and people who have cancer. And it's like, if they get sick while they're doing cancer treatment, that illness could kill them, you know? Yeah, opponents of these bans, you mean sane people? Come on. Jerome Adams, former Surgeon General during the Trump administration, chimed in when he posted on Twitter saying, quote, "It's disturbing to think immunocompromised and cancer patients could be deemed criminals for following medical advice aimed at safeguarding their health." See, even a Trump guy is chiming in and saying, like, look, this is not good. Yeah, or you could live with someone who is immune compromised or going through cancer treatment, and you don't want to harm them by bringing something home. I guess, like, I can't wear a mask in public, and so then I have to wear a mask the entire time I'm at home in order to not kill my wife who has cancer or whatever the situation is. Like, oh my God. Yeah, okay, this brings up some really great points. There are legitimate health reasons for wearing medical masks, including asthma, exposure to wildfire, smoke, and exhaust. Like, pollution is a reason why people wear masks. Also, individuals want to protect themselves from pathogens like COVID-19 and influenza. The CDC states that wearing a high-quality mask, KN95 or N95, can help lower the risk of respiratory virus transmission. Yeah, it for sure can. Yeah, we've seen studies proving that. A comprehensive study released in May suggests that if properly and consistently worn, masks are effective at reducing community transmission of respiratory pathogens. Wow, amazing. And obviously, COVID-19 spikes every summer. So it's spiking again this summer, which accentuates the contentious nature of the proposed bans. Governor Hochul in New York says that any future ban in New York would still allow people to use masks for medical reasons, except that we already looked at it and it said only when there's a declared public health emergency. Of course, there is ambiguity in the exceptions. Presumably, a demonstration or protest in itself isn't a criminal act with or without a mask. But yeah. So let me see. I don't think there's anything else in here. In the case of the North Carolina law, the American Civil Liberties Union argues that the law is specifically being used to target those who wear face coverings while protesting the conflict between Israel and Hamas, which, yeah, that is obvious, which in the ACLU's view amounts to, quote, selective prosecution of a disfavored movement. Agreed. It's also worth pointing out that banning masks has nothing to do with preventing crime, according to Dr. Lucky Tran, saying Japan has one of the lowest crime rates in the world, and everyone there wears a mask regularly. Yeah, I mean, in Japan, there's a high amount of pollution, and they just have, like, a very basic level of politeness regarding not spreading illness to people, you know? Like, there's this concept that you belong to a community, and you should protect people from getting sick. But the crime rates, like, you know, like, again, they have one of the lowest crime rates in the world. So it has nothing to do with preventing crime. TLDR, some states just want another reason to throw more people in jail. True enough. That we had discussed earlier today on a different video on the channel, the criminalizing homelessness thing. You know, labor in prisons is very cheap because, like, slavery is legal as punishment for a crime here in the United States. That's what the thing says. That's what the amendment says. Slavery is illegal except as punishment for a crime. So yeah, the more people you can throw in jail, the more labor you have. And who cares if they get COVID? Like, who cares? Yeah, in Asian countries, it's considered polite to wear a mask when you're sick to prevent spreading sickness. And here in the US, we're so anti-health that we literally ban doing stuff that helps other people around us. Next, it'll be illegal to help an old person cross the street. Yeah, it'll be assault or something. Right, even medieval peasants knew the value of wearing a mask. I remember seeing a picture from back in, like, the Spanish influenza age where, like, this whole family took pictures wearing masks, including their cat. And they put a little mask on their cat. No masks allowed combined with the gutting of the EPA is kind of an interesting cocktail. Right, yeah, with the striking down of the Chevron rule from the Supreme Court. It's going to be interesting. This is another one of those things where, you know, we've already discussed it. If they keep making basic common sense things illegal, then, like, if they made it illegal to wear masks in Kansas, guess what? I'm going to be breaking the law every time I leave my house because I wear a mask every time I go to the gym. I wear a mask every time I go to the grocery store. Like, every time I have to go inside anywhere, Walmart, like, anytime I go anywhere, even outdoors sometimes, I'll wear a mask. Like, I went to Pride, and it was outdoors, and I wore a mask the entire time because there's fucking too many people. Yeah, they've already made it illegal to do things that help people in the sense that it's illegal to feed the homeless. If you set up a table and feed the homeless, and you're not officially associated with a nonprofit organization, yeah, it's illegal. They'll shut you down. They'll make you go home. They'll cite you. So it's crazy how much, like, not only do we have a culture that incentivizes, like not caring for the most vulnerable, like not only do we as individuals seem to have no moral problem with knowing that we're COVID positive and going to the airport to get on an airplane where you're stuck in a sardine can with 100 other people and like getting them all sick with your COVID. Like, we have this individual problem of lack of accountability. But also, on top of that, the government is in some cases mandating that we do things that are worse for public health. So I guess the main thing that you can do is like contact the representatives if you're in one of these places and hope that they actually listen. But like, these things are going down party lines, and if you live in a Republican state, they can override the veto even if you have a Democratic governor. So yeah, it's not looking too good. It's not looking great. I don't care if you say those slurs in the chat. I don't care. All right, let's put that in the notes. We talked about mask bans. That's in the notes now. And I'm ready to kind of wind down a little bit. I don't have a headache anymore, but I am tired. So I'm kind of ready to wind down. Labor as punishment, as well as no protection from getting sexually assaulted, shivved, sick, permanently injured, robbed, isolated. Any complaint or grievance is responded to with, yeah, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Yeah, there's this, they just treat it like, oh, well, you should expect that terrible things are going to happen to you if you do the things that we've constructed as crimes. Yes, drink lots of water, folks. Continue to hydrate. Look after your health in the ways that you can. All right, do we have any last minute comments, questions, anything as we get ready to kind of wrap up for tonight? It's looking like I might end up just not talking about the trans youth suicide thing in the UK. True. Tactical Gaming says, I hope you all stay safe. Remember situational awareness. Awareness of your surroundings and your brain are your best self-defense tools. The bigots will be out as things become more charged. True, 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 true. My self-care for the night was making breakfast sandwiches and mac and cheese. Ooh! The tummy aches are worth it. Oh, do you have, like, lactose intolerance? Mama says, it's Wagon Wednesday, so admire someone's butt with their consent today so you don't go to jail. You will go to jail if you don't admire someone's butt today. Listen. Okay. Well, my loves, I think I'm going to stop a little bit early tonight, and I'm planning to see you all on Sunday. If you're seeing family tomorrow and this weekend, I hope that you enjoy and that it's not too terribly stressful. And yeah, hopefully it's a good weekend. I'm getting glasses this weekend, So I'm hoping that that helps with the headaches that I've been getting. Okay. Much love, y'all. Be good. Or at least don't get caught, okay?